dang it, dude.
Big black
Every time.
cocks.
Well, I can just edit that out in post.
Can't edit
Good
this
luck.
out.
I hope you forget, just like episode 7.
Yeah. And post the hard copy. I was looking at it and I was like, something's not right here. Yeah. I had to take it off and put it back and re-upload. Oh yes. Oh yes, so yep, let's get started. Time for some introductions. This is always awkward for me because I'm just not very good at them. I don't ever know how to like start. Like everybody's got their catchphrases. Like I've been watching a lot of C Team and Jerry's always like, "Hello, I'm," and then he gives out his credentials, and because I have none, I guess that's not going to work. And so.
And you don't know our names.
I don't know your name at all. I don't even know who you are. Who are you that you're talking? Who is this? So who let them in?
Hello.
Hello. So, starting at the top, we have AGTX, the Dragons.
The man.
I don't know what the fuck that was. Don't do it again.
Yep, he is the Human Slayer, which is a homebrew race class. His race is human, and he is also a Dragon Shaman. Shaman! Yep.
Heck?
Underneath that, we have Kassid69, and she will be playing Agargus, the Myconid Pion Mender, which is also a homebrew class. It's more like a monster race class, which I don't know if they have that in 5th edition, but in 3.5 they do, so.
They better in 5th.
Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, her class is basically just her race. And yeah, and Agargus, what could be said about Agargus? They are...
Yeah, I'll see what I can do.
They don't like to walk by themselves.
Yeah.
Oh,
Agargus
fucking say.
likes piggyback rides and hugs and cuddles and
Sodomy.
is a mutant.
Oh! There's one in there that's a little scary.
Terrorism.
So is Agargus in their own right. So
And that makes it fair?
I didn't say it was fair. All right, it's just the way things are. All right,
There's nothing fair about sodomy.
I did not make. All right, enough of the sodomy. Anyways, that's enough with the Asian. Anyways, yeah, the 40-year-old virgin. Anyways, then
If you
underneath.
say it too many times, I'm gonna get flagged.
Yeah. Underneath that, we have Icy Hot _ 2305, and he will be playing Zoltan Heisenberg, the Deep Druid, which that's just a homebrew that we've homebrewed as we've played. We didn't originally come up with the idea for that until he decided he was going to be a half-drow elf. Well, half-drow human, whatever you want to call him. He's a half-drow. And we decided, well, he can't really be a normal druid, right? Because he hasn't spent his life in forests and by the bubbling brooks and stuff. So we kind of just talked about it and decided, well, he's a drow of caves. He's a druid of caves. Well, he's a drow of caves too. So, and just as time has gone by, we've homebrewed him, and yeah, he's pretty much the antithesis of of your regular druid, really.
It's pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah, it
Not
really.
gonna lie, I dig that.
Icy, are you actually joining us tonight, or are you phoning it in?
Phoning it in again.
Ah, that's a bummer, because I had a whole handout for you, actually.
Dang.
Yep, I have a whole handout with your
In the chat.
custom elementals, all of them, all on one
Screen share
handout,
to him.
so you
Wow,
can
look at you.
yeah, so you can look at it. I will. I'll screen share it. Well, I can't screen share it, but what I can do is I can let.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because he'll see things he's not supposed to. He'll see behind the green curtain, and you're never supposed to pay attention to the man behind the green curtain.
Yeah, true.
Green curtain.
Nothing useful goes on back there.
Who's
anyway.
that?
No. That really not. You're right.
Just a bunch of, smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, smoke and mirrors. That's it. Ta-ta! But yeah, I can let Dragons. I can share it with Dragons, and then he can screen share it to you and let you look at it. But yeah, like every single one of your what I call them deep elementals to go along with the deep druid class, and so like yeah, all your stats and stuff for each elemental, depending on which one you want to do, is there now. And really, all a deep elemental is, it's kind of a combination of elementals. Really, like that's a long conversation. We won't get into that for right now. Underneath Icy Hot, we have Ness, who will be playing Android, the half elven. Is he?
PK Fire!
Is he? I think I've asked this before, but is he a wood elf, a high elf?
I think we settled on Wood Elf.
I think so too. It's canon now. Yeah. He's a half elf, wood elf, which is important because I do make distinction there. And he is our bard / paladin / saint of. I almost made that same mistake that I made last episode. Corlon Lorethian. Yeah, Corlon Lorethian. Yes, I almost said Saint of Cuthbert because Saint Cuthbert. It's just it rolls off the tongue easier. Yeah, but of Corlon Lorethian, and he is going through some issues right now in his life, I guess. He's got a lot of questions on his mind and very little answers. So, yeah.
Fact.
Yeah, normally he's the mouthpiece.
No dinner.
Yeah, normally he's the mouthpiece of the group, but he's kind of feeling a little bit icky right now. And then returning to our sessions, the Prodigal Son, Unit 620, who will be playing Elsa, a 12-year-old feral child. She's a 12-year-old girl who is more than meets the eyes. She's they call her the Warg Goddess. She
pulls that real gang shit.
Yeah,
Boss bitch.
She was raised by wargs and found tied up in a closet by the party. And her pack had been slaughtered, and the people who slaughtered her pack let her live, and nobody knows what they were going to do with her, but the party found her tied up in a closet, and she's just kind of attached to them ever since.
Yeah, so you could only imagine.
Yeah, so she's kind of like, in a way, they're kind of her new pack. And she's currently away from the group right now because she is one of the few beings, if I may, that can crawl into Android's bag of holding and not instantly be warped to the holding area of the loot. Only something went wrong this last time she did it, and she ended up in the ethereal plane. The ethereal plane, which, well, I'll just spill the beans on it right now, which I've fashioned to be like the backrooms, really. That is my ethereal plane. You go into the ethereal plane, you're pretty much in my version of the backrooms, and it sucks. Nobody who's gone there has liked it so far, and that's kind of a compliment, I feel. So, yeah, I guess that's... Oh, and I'm Pog. Yeah, I'm...
Yeah, we don't care.
That's not it.
Yeah, I'm the DM. I'm the guy behind the green curtain, whatever.
Non-essential.
So let's play some D&D, guys. Y'all ready to play as much D&D as you want?
Nah.
Nah.
It is what it is.
All right. Well, don't sound too excited. So
Let's fucking go!
thank you. That's all I ask.
How much she pay you to do that?
I mean, that's none of your business. I'll have you stay out of my personal affairs.
Man, I was gonna try to do the RTD2 thing, but you see, I did a test run on it, and it didn't work out so well. I had a voice crack, and now I feel intimidated.
It's okay. It's okay.
So,
If it makes you feel any
ready.
better, all of our voices still crack every once in a while.
every now and then it just happens. You take the good, you take
Turn
the bad.
around.
Yeah. Take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life. There you have it.
Yeah.
So, Elsa, last session, you found yourself in the ethereal plane. And while there,
Yes.
you went through basically some strange rooms, some obstacles. You were in basically what seemed like catacombs filled with water that the only way to figure out where to go was to look for the slight differences in each room, if any. Then you found yourself in a giant room full of stairs that made no sense, like the Winchester house, if you will. Some stairs lead to nowhere, some led to doors that didn't seem to that had no room attached to them. Some stairs led to the ceiling that when you touched the ceiling, your entire perspective shifted and now you were right side up once again. You opened up a celestial door of some sort, some giant door that you said, you know what, I don't think I want to go through that. So, then you met one of the guardians that had every intention of slaughtering you when you were saved by a shadow by the name of Biggs, who you recognized. Biggs didn't seem to recognize you at first, but it took you a minute of talking to him for his memory to come back, because Biggs he's a shadow that's attached to a party member that vanished from the group a while back by the name of Ek Balam, a Raksasha who they call a neutered because he doesn't possess all the natural spell-like abilities that a Raksasha normally possesses. And he, when he vanished into the bag of holding and ended up in the ethereal plane, what seems like just a few weeks to you guys, or maybe even a little bit over a month, they've been there for decades. Time works strange in the ethereal plane. And even Biggs has changed. He's darker and seems more... he's still got some of that jovial personality that you're used to, but every once in a while he slips into this real, you could say grim persona. And he is concerned, to say the least, about Ek's mental state, having been there for so long. Ek is, according to Biggs, Ek is discovering the ethereal plane, figuring it out, and apparently that's not a good thing. And it's in Biggs's opinion that the only way to truly save Ek is to take him down. So you agreed to do that. Then you guys bumped into a friend of the party by the name of Yucca, who is a chimera. He's a green dragon chimera, the head of a green dragon with a lion's head and body, with goat feet and a goat head, and then a serpent's tail. Yucca had jumped into the bag of holding at the behest of Android and ended up here.
all android's fault.
Yeah, through conversation, you and Yucca discovered that you guys knew the same people, and he's agreed to help you take out Ek, and then Biggs will help you guys figure out a way to get out of there. And that's about where we pick up. I will do the recap for the rest of the party when we get to their section of this session. But for now, let's just pick it up from where we're at.
Cool.
So, Elsa,
That's me.
you guys travel for quite some time. Well, maybe quite some time, maybe no time at all passes. It's hard to say. You travel through this mockery of a old Victorian style city that seems to have no stars, no moon. The houses are all in that style, that high fantasy style, except for it's all a little too immaculate. And you're still not entirely sure where all the lamplight is coming from, considering there is no lamps present. No street lamps, no lamps in any windows that you can see, but yet the windows are lit up like you would normally see like a candle or a lantern sitting in the window at night. All these windows have that kind of glow to it. Like I said, it's just a mockery. It's almost like somebody's idea of what this should look like without fully realizing their vision. You travel out of that and you find yourself winding down narrow corridors, almost like you walked into just like a giant covered aqueduct. You're just walking through these cylinder-shaped tunnels now, one right after the other. Every once in a while, there's a gap in the ground that you have to jump over, but with Biggs and Yucca and everything, you guys find no obstacles that difficult. And in fact, with Biggs leading the way, you really get to see just how this place works, because Biggs knows how this place functions. He understands that sometimes the obvious route is not the correct route. What seems like, yeah, I should go through this door. This door is here, right? I should walk through it because I've walked down this tunnel and it led to this door. I should just go through this door. And then Biggs will be like, no, let's turn around and go back. And you'll turn around to go back and you'll be somewhere completely new, as if the tunnel was never behind you in the first place. And you go through several areas like this with different mockeries of reality attached to them. Some of them you don't even recognize. Some things you've never even seen before, but you know they've got to be a mockery because, for instance, that giant crab leg coming out of that ocean that has no waves, but yet is making a wave noise. That giant crab leg should be attacking you, but it's not even moving. It looks more like a child's toy, for instance. And such, till eventually you make your guys' way into the mountains. And the more you travel through these mountains, the more things begin to feel more normal. You hear the wind and you feel the wind. You see a flower and that flower actually blows in the wind. It moves as if the wind is touching it. Physics seem to be active here for some weird reason, and you can even smell the flora of these fields and these mountains. Everything feels real, everything smells real, everything looks real, till eventually you reach this mountain summit and you look out across the area and you see all these temples just up in these mountains. And you see this statue, and you don't really recognize the statue. It's in a style that you've never seen before. It looks like it's like a mixture of like a dog and a lion and something. You know, it just makes no sense to you. But in fact, the very aesthetic of this place just doesn't look doesn't look like anything you've ever seen before. Excuse me, I hiccuped. But it's beautiful, all the same. This is probably the only beautiful place you've actually really seen. And maybe because it actually has beauty. It is realized, if you will. Sitting by the statue on like what looks like to be a decorative prayer rug, you see what looks like to be a panther-like feline humanoid man sitting there decked out in robes with like a decorative headdress on, as if he's meditating. He looks at you and you instantly recognize him to be Ekbalam, but he's changed. He looks far more feral. As clean as his uniform looks, as clean as his garb looks, his face looks more feral. His fangs have grown to unreasonable size, and his expression, there's a look in his eyes of madness, almost as if his mind is completely gone, as if it's been gripped by something more than he can understand. And yet when he looks at you, at this point, when he looks at you, you realize he's just looking at you and Yucca. Biggs has vanished. And he just looks at the both of you and he says, "Well, hello. What brings you to my little corner of the universe?"
So, this is Ek as far as Elsa can tell.
This is Ek. She recognizes him to be Ek. He's just
fucked up.
yeah, he's just different now.
Elsa doesn't really understand all that, so she's just like, yeah, what up, bitch? It's like, you don't remember me?
When you ask him that, he takes a long, hard stare at you. And actually, I will roll something for that. I'm gonna roll something for just.
You mean you'll do D&D things in D&D?
I'm gonna do some D&D things and some D and freaking D, my dude.
Wow.
Do. As soon as it will load.
Nope, you'll get nothing.
Come on, roll 20. Why don't you roll? Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna roll a intelligence.
Gonna fail that.
Oh, he straight up rolled a 24, dude. He couldn't have rolled any better than that. So he
I don't know nobody.
yeah, he just looks at you for a minute and cocks his, like I said, he stares at you for a long minute, and you watch as the madness kind of slips away from his eyes for a minute, and his head cocks to the side, and he says, "Elsa? Is it really you, Elsa?"
His eye.
With that, he leaps to his feet and he straight up thunder gods it. Like he slips down into a shadow and then slips back out right in front of you, and he just tries to pick you up into his arms and hug you. He's like, "Welcome to my abode, Elsa. Welcome to this land of make-believe and enchantment."
Interesting.
Says, "What brings you to my domain?"
Well, I'm not sure what brings me here, but I'm here now.
He says, "Oh, really? Are the others here?" You watch now as you're watching him. You're watching that madness slowly creep back into his eyes. Like he had that recollection, and now that he's had it, like it's almost like he remembers everything now. But the madness is kind of just creeping back over him. It's like solidifying into his memory, and the madness and his memory are becoming one now. And so now he's able to use it. Says, "Oh, did the others accompany you then?"
As far as I know, I don't believe so.
Says, "What a pity. I would love to show them the god that I have become." And he like holds his hands out to the vista where you can see all those temples and everything. He's like, "You like my handiwork?"
Definitely interesting.
Like I modeled it after the stories I was told by my mentor.
Who was your mentor?
That's a good question. His mentor's name was a guy.
Just a guy.
Just-
Guy Fieri.
Just that guy. Yeah, it was Guy Fieri. Because I haven't had to use it in so long, I've kind of let it slip from my memory just a little bit. But his name was Keshavar. He's like Keshavar, the Wanderer. He had been to all sorts of places, and he came back after telling me about a continent where there's strange animal people there, just like us. And I created this out of memory of his stories of their homeland. I hope you like it. And as you're looking out into these temples, you see that they're not like temples that you've ever seen before. Like, you're used to like cathedrals and things of that nature. These are like cylinder shaped stone buildings that reach out, and then their rooftops fan out and they kind of section out. Like each section, the base of it is the widest part of this cylinder, and then the next section is slightly smaller, and so on and so forth, with each section having its own rooftop, if you will, as it like a layered cake, if you will, that that distinguishes each section of these till the very top, and the tops are decorated in animals that you don't think you've ever seen before.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, along with this statue that he seems to be praying by or meditating at. Says, "Yes, I have been shown many things on how to control my world. And that is what I intend to do, control it. Until I'm ready to make my grand entrance back into the material plane."
Is it me, or is he cutting in and out for anybody else?
How's that? Is that better?
Apparently.
Yeah. Hold on, let me adjust this thing. This thing slides over my microphone, and then it causes friction. He says, "Welcome to my plane of existence." Says it's mine, and I'm currently working on it until I'm ready to return to the material plane. And then when I do, I will have such wonders to show it. When he says that, you see this real sinister grin just creep up over his face. That's when Biggs, you notice that Biggs he's been hiding out in your shadow, and he kind of yanks on your leg a little bit and whispers, and he says, "That's what I'm talking about. I don't know what he means, and it's kind of scaring me a little bit, Paisana."
It's a little weird.
Says, Was it weird when they learned to make potions?
I mean, probably.
I mean, did people question it when they took this and that and they stuck it together and they said, let's drink it? Maybe we'll be healed.
I mean, that's probably weird.
He says, it's not weird. Once I've learned how to master creating this reality, I shall merge it with the material plane of existence. And then I will remake it in my liking. No one will look down upon my people ever again. He looks at you, Elsa, and he says, you can have the same. I could teach you.
I don't really have a need for that.
He says, no. You would spit in my face?
I mean, you've spit in mine.
You would suckle from the teats of the universe, only to spit its fluids back into my own maw?
I mean, if that's what you wish to call it, then yeah.
He says, oh, no. You don't belong here. And he starts pacing back and forth now, like in front of you, just left to right, just, you know, like almost like he's contemplating something. He's like, you don't belong. No. You don't belong here. You don't belong in my realm. This is my realm. And he stops and looks at you and like holds his hands out like to the sky and he says, I create here. You don't get to tell me yay or nay. You are not the wandering horse of this forest.
Wandering horse, huh?
He says, yes. Much like the cow wanders and chews the grass of the fields, or the chicken dances in the frying pan. It's my frying pan, and you are the chicken. And when he says that, roll initiatives. And I will roll initiative as soon as this freaking thing opens back up. I just had to just restart everything.
Makes sense.
I mean, you know, sometimes I have also found that sometimes the pathways just get so screwy that it's...
You're gonna have to slap the token down for me to grab a hold of to roll in.
Well, what I gotta do, that's what I'm saying, like I gotta get in there and actually show you what the battle map looks like, and then you'll see the token.
Yeah.
The JRR.
I'm like clenched here.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What? Why are you running? There you are.
How are you running? It's in you.
You should have your token should be there now, and if you, as you'll see, now your token will look smaller. That's because I realized I can adjust size. I discovered the adjust size tool on this thing, and so I went through and adjusted everybody's heights and stuff to actually better match their characters, just for that little extra flavor of immersion. I don't know. Why are you running? But you should be able to click your token now.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So it should be happening.
I gave you the alt 1-2 roll.
Yeah. My thing is still catching up. Because I'm trying to quickly open up everything that I need to open up here. Alright. Now that I got that, let's look at these rolls here. Oh, Oh, snap. We got this new improved toolbar. Problem is, there it is. Okay. Gotcha.
I don't know how to fucking work it.
Yeah, problem is, here's my problem.
Yeah, sometimes the soundtracks you need on this thing.
Okay. And Yucca will roll his initiative. Yeah, the whole time too, Yucca just kind of stood there and listened to this whole thing happen, and then when he looks like he's about to get aggressive and you take your attack stance, Yucca just says, all right, it's come to this then.
Here we go again.
Aw, snap.
Aw, shit, son.
Okay, so in the turn order, it will go Elsa, Ek, Yucca, and then Biggs, who's currently on the other layer, so you probably can't even see his turn there, but it's there. All right, Elsa, you get to go first.
So feisty.
It's too spicy. I don't like it. It's too spicy.
Too spicy.
It's only hand tight.
It is only hand tight. Well, on that note, I think Elsa is going to just ready and wait to see what he has in mind.
Alrighty. Just for the record, this edge right here, that's a drop. You go off that edge, you're pretty much falling. Just for the record.
A free falling.
All right, so Elsa readies an action. What action would you like to ready?
She's gonna ready a dodge action.
A dodge action. Ooh. Okay. So, looks at you and he says, I'm sorry about this, Elsa. I want you to know I never disliked you. Or maybe it's I never liked you. Either way, I'm sorry. And he is going to shadow jump. Woohoo! Alright, yeah, he's going to shadow jump. So, you guys just watch as, like, he steps into a shadow, pops out, and when he pops out, he's, like, flying down on top of you, Elsa, and he is going to initiate a grapple with you.
I'd like to use my ready action to jump out the way.
Jump out the way. Jump out the way. Alright.
She's like, sloop. Do a little slide out the way.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and move your token where you want to move it to. I was going to do it just out of whatever. But I'm like, it's not my token. Why am I moving it?
So I'll slide over here and be like, nope.
So he poof, lands and he's just like, ooh, you. Oh, you.
I was like, you gotta be quicker than that.
And since that's what that is, he's just like, oh, well, And he looks, and there's just Yucca standing right there in front of him. Yucca's just like... And Yucca's gonna just try and start mauling this guy.
Yeah, I did. I'm too excited with how fucking realistic this.
Shit.
The guy was just fucking hop right back off.
All right, let's see. Out of all those, he hit none. He missed every last single one of those attacks. Wow.
That's in the chat.
Yeah. Dang. Well, he did roll pretty low there, to be fair. So, I mean, that's something.
He also looks over and like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah, he's like trying to like maul Ek, and Ek is just like basically just using Yucca's own shadow to just voom, 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 voom in and out of like reality basically. And Yucca's just like, what? He looks over at you, Elsa, when you say that, and he goes, I can't seem to get a hold of him. He's slippery. Has he always been this slippery?
Nope.
Biggs is going to ready in action as well.
Word.
Yep. Because at this point right now, you're not entirely sure where he's at. And Elsa, it is your turn again.
Let's see here.
Yeah, you're
Well,
you're currently just...
Elsa's not sure what the hell to do, but she knows X not an easy fight, so she's gonna morph.
Oh, it's morphin' time. No, we're not gonna say that. That's not what we're gonna say.
No.
I was so hoping. I was so hoping that was gonna be it.
You'll get nothing, and you'll like it.
I was so hoping that your catchphrase there was gonna be "It's morphin' time." All right, so
No.
no, okay. Well, we tried, everybody. We did.
You tried and you failed.
Okay, so you become, you grow about an inch. You know, you get a little bit bigger, and you watch as your body covers with hair, and you grow sharp talon or claws. You look like an amalgamation between a warg and a little girl. As you take on your warg form. All right, so after you shift, you know, it just kind of happens. Like it's not like a lycanthropy where it hurts, like your bones crack and everything. It's just like almost like a second skin to you. It's almost like you shed one skin, and underneath of it, you're this little warg girl. So, what would you like to do now?
She's going to just ready and wait for act to show himself.
Alrighty.
And she's gonna taunt him at the same time, be like, "What? You gotta hide to fight me?
He looks out.
I always knew you weren't the man."
Alrighty. So he's been kind of fending off Ek there, or Yucca, but once you say that, he goes shadow jumping over to you again, and boom, pops up right behind you and goes to swing on you.
But no, give me a second here. I gotta figure out what my AC is currently.
Alrighty.
Been a minute since I've done these things.
I think it's 36, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds accurate.
Yeah. I think when you're not buffing, it's 31, but I think when you buff, you get an extra 6 or an extra 5, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong. Go ahead and check it out. Take my word for it.
Looks like we're 32 normally, 36 when formed.
Ah, okay.
So 36.
Yeah. So it is 36. I was just wrong about the prime.
Yeah,
the base
modifiers.
numbers. Yeah. Okay.
Close enough.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's math.
Yeah.
That's never been my strong suit. Oh, right, but he's going to swing on you. And he hits. Doing... You know, I did not really give him any weapons when I did him up. I just leveled him a little bit.
He tries to backhand her.
He turns around and slaps her with his tail. He's like, "How do you like that, huh? Does that tickle? Does that tickle?" You know, oddly enough, I feel like that might be something he would do, maybe, like, just because he's kind of crazy right now, but...
Elsa's like, you really are crazy, aren't you?
Yeah, but now that I've said it, I don't want to do it like I should have, you know, like I should have saved it.
She looks back at me, he's like, you didn't tell me he was this crazy.
You didn't tell me that he had lost his dang mind. I told you. I told you. Alrighty. Here we go for 19 points of damage. Damage. And
Is
then,
that the best you got?
well, he's going for his second attack. He is now going for his second attack. Don't hurt his feelings. Come on. Be nice. Whoa, okay. And he hits. Doing... yeah. 8 points of damage. Oh, wait, no. Nope, that's wrong. But I will just roll another one. So,
Another one.
10 points of damage. 2 extra points of damage. How do you like that, huh? How do you like that? That hurt? Did that hurt? Them 2 extra points? Did that hurt? That hurt you?
My soul.
How dare you give him those 2 extra points? 27, 28, 29? Okay. Going for his third attack. Because he is a monster. You said your AC is 36 right now? That's a big old fat miss. He rolled a hot 35 on that one. Just missed you. And then for his fourth attack. Alright, well, he's got to kind of roll high on this one too, because if that missed, last one. Ooh, and he misses on that one. Okay. So now I know what he needs to roll within the range of to get you on those last 2 attacks. Which, I mean, does you no good, but it does him some good. Alright. Now as he's attacking you, right? After he hits you, Biggs springs into action on his action, and you realize that he's actually hiding out in your shadow. You get a sense that he's kind of scared. Maybe he's been serving under this dude for so long, like pretty much like literally, because he's a shadow, but that he doesn't necessarily want to just like up and attack him. Maybe there's a little bit of sadness there too, or whatever. But he does hit you with what is that? Yeah. He hits you with True Strike. So he just reaches up and buffs you with some magic, and you feel like the next hit you do is just going to automatically be a crit. The next, like those slaps he gave you, you're just infuriated, and like the next time you slap this dude, you're just going to freaking, send it home to him. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Nice. All right, now it's Yucca's turn. Yucca's just like, oh, hey, where are you going? We're not done yet. And he goes in to try and flank the unflankable. And he's just going to go for all his attacks. I know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to reroll all of that. Because that, well, yeah, I'm going to have to. I didn't think this out. Always something. I always miss something when I'm thinking these things out. Oh, wow. Cool. Alright. So he misses everything again except the one, which was the the bite attack. Nice. Okay. So, but on that, he got a crit. I'm gonna openly roll that one. Was it? It's a strength. Okay. It's 4. Wow. Oh, god dang it. Hold on. It's 4d4. Freaking numbskull. There we go.
Jeez.
Oh, okay. 10 times 4 is 40. So, yeah. So Yucca comes running up on him and tries to ball him again, and he just starts dancing around, and he gets a little arrogant. He's like, haven't we done this before already? And as he's saying that, the tail just lashes out and catches him right on his neck and sinks in, and he's like, whoa! And like slaps the freaking snake away, and he's like, oh, that's uncalled for.
I was like, you're getting there, but I'm gonna need you to pick up the pace here.
Biggs readies another action. Elsa, it is your turn.
Elsa unleashes fury on him.
Slaps him for a nat 20. Go ahead and roll your damage for that, and we'll do the crit for that right now, and then you can do the rest of your attacks.
This will be times 3.
Very nice. For 159. Ouchies.
So that was her first attack.
Yeah.
And this will be her second.
Okay, so as you're going to do that second attack, right? As you're going to do that second attack, you get bamboozled by, and you don't actually see it right away, but a thing appears behind you and rocks you with some magic missiles, inevitably putting his turn right in here now. Right up in there.
I'll believe you. Turnover screwed up for me, so.
Do what?
No, I said I'll believe you. The turn order's all effed up for me.
Oh yeah, because you can't see yourself. Well, you were there. It's just that when and in fact, what I can do, just so you can see yourself.
I'm not worried about it.
I did it. It's fine. You're right there now. So initially, what just happened is this guy he like popped in on your turn and he's going to attack you. And after you get attacked, what you see is this like weird, like four-armed, odd, like neon green looking, like it looks like seaweed green with like a white body. He's got one foot, like one leg with one massive foot that holds up his like oddly crescent-shaped body with these like long gangly arms with these gangly hands and feet, like elongated fingers attached to it. The top of his head looks like it's got a mouth coming out of it with a tongue that's constantly licking, while his torso looks like it actually holds his face. And it's just the oddest looking thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Like it's not the stuff of nightmares. It just seems to be real on par with how this plane works.
As soon as Elsa gets hit with the magic missile, she's like, "Stop! I could have dropped my croissant."
I could have dropped my croissant. Yeah. I just need to check and see what level he does that at real quick, and I will. Okay. So. Okay. All right, so it's 15 points of damage, not too terrible. Wait, is that how that works? I think so. I'm not gonna check it right now, but yeah, it would be, for what I think how it works. It'd be only 15 points of damage. So he just like all those gangly fingers just, and four of them shoot magic missiles, and they just slap you.
It's like 1d4 for each one or something like that.
Yeah, but then like plus your level or something, I think. But
And then you get more missiles for your level.
yeah. Well, he's
Anyway,
blasting it hard. He's blasting. He's a pretty high little user of magicka, if you will. So he just slaps you for like 15 points of damage. Just boom! Hits you right in your chest. And, yeah.
well, do that paper. Your mom's a hoe.
And then he goes, oh, yeah. And that's his, whatever you call it, because of his feet. That's pretty much a free thing, a freebie that he just shot at you. And then he casts invisibility on himself again. Just boom, bye.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And now it's your turn. Well, he's got what do you call it? He's got the feet quicken spell, so he just boom does that, just and then allows himself just to actually take a turn. And now it is your turn. Now it's back to your turn.
Alright, so there's the second attack.
That is a miss.
Third, miss. And fourth, miss.
Miss. All right. So, that magic missile really threw you off your game. You're like, what? You're like, what the nine hells is even that? You know what I mean? And then you turn and try to attack Ek, and Ek is just dancing around like, he looks something like a court jester. He's like bouncing on one foot to the other, just kind of like, hidey ho, hody hee, you know, just kind of doing a little hip sway while you're trying to stab at him. And now it is his turn. He says, okay. The time for games is over. And he is going to... Yeah. Does he have it? Yes, he has it. He sure does. He casts, what is it? Oh, I guess that's not what I thought it was. Never mind. Okay, if I can't do that, then I'll just do this. He quickens his spell and casts Bear's Endurance on himself. And then says, alrighty, now I'm done playing with you. And he goes to swing on you. For a hit. And he goes for a second attack. For a hit. Third attack. Ooh, that, okay. That would be good. Oh, for a hit? And that one misses. Okay. Alrighty, so basically, just roll them all together. Okay. For 61. Okay. So he hits you for 61 points of damage. Just like, whack! So after he casts that on him, he just starts like trying to like maul you. You can get a sense that he's just trying to put you down real quick. And you're just taking these blows, and maybe for the first time in a long time, you're actually fighting somebody who might actually have an understanding of the way that you normally fight anyways. Also, he has seen you fight before, so he understands your tactics. Yucca's turn. Yucca's turn.
Thinks he understands my tactics.
He thinks he does. He thinks he does. I'm just saying that. Like,
Let's see if he truly understands.
let's see if he truly knows what it means to. You want the thunder? Well, now you've got it. Alright, though Yucca connects with both his bite and his claws. So that'll all together will be 66 plus 8. So Yucca is starting to feel like he's not contributing nearly enough to this fight. So he just gets on him and just starts tearing him up. And you know, bites him and everything. And Ek is like, oh, okay. Listen. You guys are fighting unfairly. I'm pretty sure that this is an unfair fight. All right, nobody said, and I'm pretty sure Biggs is helping you. And with that, when he says that,
I don't see him.
yeah, when he says that, Biggs appears out of your shadow, and he's just like, hey, Paisano. And Ek is just like, Biggs? He's like, yeah, it's me. It's like, but why? We were like blood. We were more than
your boy.
yeah, skinny people. He's like, we were more than blood. We were water. We were water, and when the body dies, only blood and water separate. And Biggs goes, see, it's because of things like that. Things like what you said just now. And Biggs, he goes, I'm sorry, Paisano, but I gotta do it. Gotta do it to you. And he casts True Strike on you again, Elsa. He's like, phew. And the second that happens, the little dude who was vanished reappears, and he picks Ek up in his arms, and he goes to escape with Ek. Ek is like, to the mountains, my trusty steed! But it's only got one leg, so it's not moving very fast. Elsa, it is your turn, and you do have a True Strike on you.
Well, being told she's fighting unfair, and then him attempting to run away, Elsa gets very, very angry. And she pulls out her daggers, and then leaps at Ek.
Oh. Like a pounce maneuver? Like a pounce?
Yep.
You want
Well, her, what do you call it? Hang on, I forgot what it's called. Her spring attack.
Ah, yes. She's just gonna tear him, like jump on him, tear him up, and then jump back. Got you.
Yep. So, for the first attack, That will be a crit. It will be... good day. What's the modifier on these? Times 4.
Oh my gosh.
So here's the damage times 4. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Okay, well, that did it. Okay, for you listeners at home, he just rolled 328 damage. He rolled an 82. Yeah. And rolled pretty high and filthy. And, yeah. He rolled
As Elsa jumps back, she puts the daggers back in her hair.
She's like, oh, nice. Like she, like almost like she's got like a bun that they, like the chopstick bun type thing going on.
Yeah,
She's just
she just slides them back into her hair like that's the holster for him.
Nice. So, Elsa, yeah, so you jump in and you just stab him. Is that how you want to do it? Just stab him up like he's a fish in prison or something? And then as you bounce back, you put the deals back in your... And the creature, when you do that, you actually bump into the creature, which I need to roll something for, and this will determine quite a bit. That would be pretty crappy. Yeah. It loses its balance, and Ek is just sitting there, just bleeding to death. He's like, oh! I mean, blood is coming out of his mouth, and the creature loses its balance, and both of them just off the side of the cliff. You guys run up to watch as Ek just goes falling back, and you watch him. He does one of those theatrical falls, you know, where they're like falling backwards, and they do like a little backflip one time. You know, he's like, oh, does this little backflip, and he just disappears down into the nothing. Along with that little creature that you watch just bounce off the side of the canyon and just... And they both die.
Dun.
And the second that happens, you hear kind of like a... And it feels like this place like rumbles and shakes. It feels like reality itself is just shaking a little bit. Like almost like the foundation of this reality itself just kind of cracked or something. Biggs goes, huh. And there it is. He's dead now.
Indeed. Elsa takes a second to, like, calm back down and revert back to her other form.
Biggs is just kind of standing there rubbing his nose, like, almost like he's got the sniffles, you know? He's just like... And he goes, I know now why you guys cry, though it is something I could never do. Because I didn't know it would hurt this much. And he begins looking at his hands and he's like, I suppose I should get you guys out of here now. He goes, before my demise, I suppose. Ek was the only thing tying me to this realm, and I think he manifested me. Now that I think about it, it makes sense that he took to this place like a fish to water. He always was good at imagining. Then you hear it. Because I have a strange feeling that this place ain't gonna... That this at least little slice of heaven in this realm isn't gonna survive very much longer without him to hold it together. Who knows what it'll look like the next time anybody comes through here.
Elsa's like, so what happens to you now?
So I'll probably fade into oblivion. I got nothing tying me to it anymore.
Well, she goes, well, how do we fix that?
He goes, I don't really know. When X summoned me, he just felt like he really needed somebody to,
Hold his hand.
Stop it. He just felt like he really needed somebody, and here I was. He goes, I'm not entirely sure how I came to be. Goes,
So it's like, well, I can't just let a friend die. Can you join my shadow or something?
Goes, you know what? And he thinks about it for a minute and he goes, I need you with all your might. I need you to just, while you're in this place, just imagine that it's possible. He goes,
I got you, paisano.
So, kind of walk me through it. Here, unit. Elsa, just kind of tell me, when Elsa starts to imagine that, when she starts to, envision Ek becoming a part of her shadow, what is it that she thinks? How is it that she imagines it? What is the joining ritual in her mind, if you will?
Well, they're kind of making their way
Downtown?
Yep, making their way downtown. Walking fast. As they're making their way towards where Ek is leading them.
Eating, I was gonna hit you with the
Where Biggs is leading us how to get out. She's thinking, well, I can't just let a friend die. I know he's tied to Ek, but that wasn't his fault. She's like, there's got to be some way. And she's just sitting there, basically trying to force it to happen. She's like, I can't let him die. She's like, and then she just imagines him being a, not necessarily actually her shadow, but a shadow of her, her warg form. Not of her human form.
Right. But
so it's almost it would almost be just a shadow of a warg following her everywhere.
Interesting. As she does that, if she could see it, if she wasn't thinking so hard about it, she'd notice that her shadow is slowly, her actual shadow is slowly just dissipating. And as Biggs is leading you guys there, he's running, his body is slowly pulling away from him. I want you to think of at this moment he is a pliable material. He's like that ooze that think of that ooze that kids buy in those containers. He just becomes real stretchy, and it's the shadow that once was where that spot is empty now. It's slowly sucking him onto it until it just stretches him completely out, and the last thing you see of him is his finger pointing up to this certain spot before it gets stretched and then whoop-ah, slapped down onto the ground. And it doesn't quite look wargish yet, like you imagined. It still kind of looks like him, like how he did, but you can slightly see tendrils, ever so faint, kind of flowing off of your shadow now. Not upward, but out, as if your shadow has grown tendrils in of itself, and they seem to be working on him. And then all of a sudden, X's head just pops up, and he looks at you and he goes, "Holy crap!" And Yucca stops and goes, "Oh, I didn't think that was gonna work." He
have little faith.
He saw the whole thing happen, and he's just like, how did that happen? And Biggs just says, she learned how to work this realm just enough to save my life. Thank you, Paisana.
I got you, Paisan.
He goes, all right, and then he pops back out, and you can see now that he's popped back out, like the tendrils. It's just like kind of like a slight blur on his body, and you can see that like he's being morphed into something more. And he says, all right, let's get out of here now. Yucca says, please. I don't know if I can handle any
Let's
more of this.
get the hell out of here. This place sucks.
Yeah. You guys begin running, and you run to the very top of this peak. And Biggs, like, as you run up there too, like you go running, like any moment now you're gonna be at the very top of the peak, and you'll be standing out there just looking at the sky, you know? But as you run up there, you hit your head on the sky. You're just boom, and you realize it's more of a roof than it is sky. It's just boom. You gotta kind of rub your head like, oh. And Biggs goes, this is where Ek used to come and knock on the sky. That's what he said he was doing. And
I fucking hate you.
I never understood what it meant until I brought your one friend here, and this is where we got him out. If we got him out this way, we can get him out again. He goes, open that door, Elsa. Get us out of here. He goes, I believe in you. And Yucca's like, yeah, whatever, just, yeah, I believe in you too. And he's looking over his shoulder as this area is beginning to reform into something much more sinister. It's like the temples are being destroyed, and like strange fingers are growing in its place, or rock fixtures anyways that look like, that are reminiscent of clawed fingers are growing in its place, almost like this place is being torn apart by some giant beast from underground. He goes,
Elsa's like, yep, fuck all that. And she like tries to shove her hand through the ceiling.
As you do, you just go popping right through. Like you just, boom, with that inertia and that mindset, you just start going through. And the second you do, Biggs is pulled through because he's attached to you now. And before he goes through, he grabs a hold of Yucca and he's like, come on, you big galoot. Yucca's like, oh, okay. All three of you just go right through. So where we left the last party, the group, the group that isn't separated, where we left them last, the last party, where we left the Last Supper, which
you might have to restart your stuff again.
did I cut out again?
Yeah, you're starting to cut out pretty bad again.
How about now?
Apparently you're fine.
Okay. Where we left the party last, and like the Last Supper. I said the Last Supper originally, and I was like, yeah, no, it might be.
Yeah, it's not working.
It's not working. God.
No.
I'm just gonna restart the freaking
It's
Discord.
gonna restart. I don't know what else.
We'll see if this works. But yeah. So where we left the party last, they had quite a rough night. They had come to the underworld in the east, to the eastern underworld, if you will, to perform a favor for Yoshi Lorethian's half-brother, Lord Varan, which ended up not working out for them at all. And they pretty much created themselves a new enemy by the name of Karabak Aharak, an illithid gentleman, if you will. And that's how I would describe the guy. He's an illithid gentleman.
No, I haven't.
Varan still upheld his end of the deal and told them where, up top on the surface level in the continent of Pangshun, they could find the Wind Weird, the Weird of Air, a giant elemental being I'm gonna have to mute that. I'm sorry, that's throwing me off. But where? Yeah, so he this wind weird, which is just the weirds are strangely tied to the elemental planes, which the elemental planes are tied to the material plane, and should they start dying off, then the elemental planes elements will die off, and that's currently what's happening. So you guys traveled to the surface level into the continent of Pangshun, into these mountains, and while you were trying to rest on the mountains for the night, you guys watched as these massive giant beings made out of lightning and thunder played a game of catch with lightning and destroyed the mountain ranges around you. Zoltan used his control weather to get them to go away by making the storm they were playing in go away. But you guys were still just so miserable that you crawled into this crevice, this cleft of rock that you found. You climbed over to it and are currently camping out inside a cave there in the cleft. And that's pretty much where we left you guys off last session. So that night, what little night is left of it, do you guys decide to try and get more rest, or are you just so over it that you just end up staying up the rest of the night, just kind of, drying off or whatever it is that you do? Like,
I think Android is, after we get down in there and we determine that it's safe, at least for the time, I think Android's going to try and continue meditating for the time.
Okay. He's gonna... What is he meditating on?
Sorry, my dogs are barking. I don't know if you can hear it. He's meditating primarily on some of the things that he's learned as a result of his kind of like mind meld situation, similar to the reason why he was being so quiet in the first place within the last couple of sessions. He's just trying to work out some of his own feelings about the matter, because like he said, he had to walk through a field of ice with stumps for feet.
You have more than the shadow of death.
So yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where, with that in mind, he's trying to just kind of work that out within himself.
I see. What about Agaragus? What is Agaragus doing? Does Agaragus try to root themselves again and get more nutrients, or how is Agaragus feeling about the matter right now?
I think he's gonna try to root, and yeah, he's gonna, I think, just try to feel things out, because he's kind of like, I don't know. I know I always say this, but unsure of things.
Yeah. Well, no, it's understandable. Like, up until this storm happened, Agaragus, I don't think had ever experienced a storm living underground. So, and especially seeing giant creatures that come out of the storms to wreck the land, all in the name of play. Yeah, it makes perfect sense that Agaragus is just kind of like, what did I get myself into?
Exactly.
What about Zoltan? What is Zoltan doing? Is he resting? What's he doing at the moment? I know he's still a little bit exhausted from his ordeal of putting out the fire, and henceforth why his spells are still kind of up in the air. But how's Zoltan feeling? How's old Zoltan feeling? Old Heisenberg. Did we lose him?
No, but he sometimes has issues getting his phone number.
Right.
No, I had to move rooms because everyone started moving in the one room that I was in, so I had to move.
Oh, no.
My bad.
No problem. I was worried that maybe I cut out again. All right.
Nah. Yeah, Zoltan's gonna go back and rest for a little bit.
Just, just kind of kick his feet up and give himself a pat on the back for a job well done.
Yeah.
As many he's, in as many days, if not less, he's avoided disaster twice. So that's something. There's something to be said about that. With that said, what is Zoltan's feelings about his powers now that he's starting to kind of see them more in action and really beginning to understand what it means to be a druid of the deep?
He's feeling more confident about the promise he made to himself. He still knows that he has a long way to go, but he's feeling that he's comprehending it a lot better than he used to. He's feeling more about himself now than he used to about it.
Good. What about Uquill? What is Uquill doing? I know Uquill technically doesn't need to rest or eat nearly as much, but technically it did get interrupted. So how's he feeling about life right now? Like the little bit of rest that he gets, that he's allowed in life, it got interrupted by these giant beings, playing football, basically American football, with lightning. What? How's he feeling about life? And he almost fell off that cliff.
I wouldn't say he's exactly happy. You know what I mean? But, all things considered, he's just like, oh, another fucking day. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's really hard to, like, I guess the word would be like throw him off his game. He's, you know what I mean? Like, he's not excited. It's just like, fuck. Like, this is not the way I exactly thought a lot of this was going to go down, but touche.
Right. So, you guys have just basically, like, this is your first day topside in this new continent and already this crap. Right? Basically?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he's like, motherfucker can't win for losing, no matter where we go, what we do. Always some fucking bullshit.
This is not the way you start a campaign. Right, gotcha. Well, does he try to get a little bit more rest himself, or does he just say screw it and just chill?
Yeah, he's probably taking a nap. He's probably just fed up with the moments of shut-eye in,
So
I imagine with him being pissed off, like, he's like, whatever comes.
Whatever.
Let the world in. Let's get it over
with. We're just pawns of a cruel god.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. By any chance, do you guys, because you guys are soaking wet, do you guys build a campfire? I'm asking for flavor text reasons.
Garricus doesn't care, but
yeah. What about
Yeah, I don't know if sorry, I didn't see what out of nowhere. I can't see Uquill being like, oh, we must have a fire, but I don't think it's like, I don't think he would oppose if somebody mentioned it. So he's being Captain Grumpy.
Yeah.
He's sitting in his fucking tower and he's fucking napping. Okay.
What about Zoltan and Android? Do any of you build a fire, or do you guys just say, screw it, I'm done?
I don't know, I feel like Android's just kinda still in his head. You know, he can't be bothered. He's just like, whatever, do as you guys will. I'm chilling.
All right. All right, so now let Zoltan. Then I don't think he cares either way because he's not really jumping in. So, yeah, you guys go without a fire and just try to get as much rest as you possibly can for the rest of the night in the dampness. And early that morning, Android, you are startled out of your meditation by a heat. There's like a distinct heat on your hip. And you don't really know what the heck that is, but it's getting hotter by the second. And quickly you jump to your feet and you realize it's your bag of holding that's burning up, which is weird because it's made out of hide. Hide doesn't, conduct heat in that same sense, I mean, everybody's sat on hot leather before and been like, that kills, but I mean, like
like a hot car.
Yeah.
Asshole!
Android reaches into his bag of holding and calls to the Pantheon, just out of instinct.
So you go to try and do that, but like you can't even touch the bag. That's how hot it is. It's like
It's hot like fire!
It's like
then I drop it on the stone, just kind of like, fuck.
Yeah, like, when you do that, the bag opens itself up and grows to crazy proportions. Like, you don't think you've seen it grow this big before. Like, just the mouth of it. Like, the physics behind it doesn't make any sense. It's like watching... It'd be like watching something with like a little head, like a blowfish, but the only part of it that actually puffs up is just its mouth.
It's crowning!
And out of it comes bursting Elsa and Yucca. You see Elsa and Yucca come running out of there.
And they're covered in a slimy residue.
Yeah, they're just like, ah! But when they...
Yo, what up, bitches?
And your bag of holding catches fire.
What, bitch?
No, I'm just
Nuh-uh.
kidding. I'm kidding.
You're lying.
I'm kidding.
He said, oh, you lying?
He goes, what? No, but it does, like, as soon as they're out, like, it shrinks back down to normal and kind of does look singed. It almost looks like it got cooked a little bit. But it's, for all intents and purposes, it's still intact. It's got burn marks on it now, on the leather. Yeah, Nelson comes jumping out. What up? I got a 1-up.
What up, bitch? I got one up, bitch. What's inside the question block? It's my dick. Android's just kind of like watching this whole situation, and he just slowly raises a hand to his forehead, looking at Yucca and Elsa, and he's like, well, this is a new development. How do you all explain yourselves?
Yucca just shrugs. And then this, like, all of his heads and the tail all look at Elsa.
Android's like, yeah, pretty much. Android's like, I didn't know what became of you, Elsa, but Yucca, I didn't expect to see you again, if I'm being perfectly honest. And he's like, I apologize for sucking you into the bag like that. I knew what would happen. I mean, within some margin. I don't know what happened, but I knew it. I wouldn't be seeing you again for a while.
When you say that, all the heads go from looking at Elsa back to you, but they're turned sideways looking at her, but then they turn sideways to look at you, but they move very, very slowly. And none of them, not a single one of them, even the three that you didn't think were like actually intelligent or sentient look extremely displeased with you, and Yucca just says, "Oh, I see. So you just throw me into a realm where..." And he like, the words just fail him. He's like, I expected better from you, Android.
Android says, well, you know what? If you want to be mad at anybody, you can be mad at me. I really don't give a shit. But if you ask me, there were some magic words that could have been said to prevent this. And he just kind of shrugs. He's like, I truly am sorry for what may or may not have happened to you. But at the same time, there are things that must be done.
Yucca says, magic words?
I don't know.
What
As it were.
magic words could have been said to keep me from... You know what? At the moment,
He says, hold on. I'm not placing blame on you. He says, I'm not really even placing blame on you, Quill. I'm just saying that's how things turned out, and, sorry. He says, I know that's probably not enough to make up for what happened to you, and I understand that, but for what it's worth, I'm sorry.
says, I suppose it worked out for the best because I got to meet your little friend here, Elsa. And, together we, along with, our other friend here, and he kind of
Elsa's like, oh yeah, Biggs is here. And she points at her shadow.
So, Android, you watch as Elsa says that and points directly at her shadow. Your favorite thing, a shadow.
Android checks his own.
So instinctively, you look over your shoulder at your own for a minute, but see nothing really out of the sorts. But you look as Biggs comes up out of Elsa's shadow, and he looks more than the last time you saw him. He looks a lot... he just looks different now. You know what I mean? He's like fuller and he's darker. And now he's got this slight... he's got these slight tendrily shadows, like a mist coming off of his body. He's just like, hey guys, it's me, Biggs. If y'all remember me, I was I was a part of X Shadow.
Android kind of looks him up and down, and he's like, weird.
Elsa goes, oh, and that reminds me, Eck, yeah, I done killed that hoe. Fuck that guy.
Android just kind of stops and looks at her, and he's kind of speechless for a second. He says, wait a second. Eck is slain.
Yeah, he did.
Biggs goes, yeah, he went crazy up there in that wherever that bag takes you. He went crazy down in there, and then he sees Zoltan and points right at him. He goes, well, that guy knows. He was supposed to tell you all about it. Hey, Paisano, good to see you again. You tight-lipped little freak.
No. He let us know. I just
got there before he came back, I guess.
Yeah, I just wasn't aware. He kind of looks Biggs up and down, acknowledging within himself the idea that Biggs has been there a long time. He says, and he kind of clears his throat and he says, I suppose I must apologize to you as well, Biggs. I didn't realize the gravitas of the situation, as it were. You kind of see this look in his eyes like, fuck, he must have been down in the bag a long fucking time. He's like, when Zoltan told us, I figured we had time, but as I'm coming to learn, that's a sort of relative thing.
He goes, and then he kind of looks sad for a minute and goes, I mean, Eck was troubled anyways, and maybe he's in a better place now, I don't know. Because anyways, it worked out for Elsa and I mean, we found a way to bond, and now I'm in her shadow.
When he says Eck must be in a better place, you kind of see Android's eyes glaze over for a minute. And when he's like, but now I'm with Elsa, he kind of snaps out of it, and he's like, yeah. Great. I'm glad you made it out, Biggs. I always liked you.
Says, well, thank you. He goes, you're not too shabby yourself, I think. And then he goes to, like, jump back into the shadow, and he turns and sees Agargus, and he goes, go! And stops for a minute and goes, what? Hello there.
Hello.
Oh my god, it talks.
I know, right?
He goes, oh. He goes, did you pick that up in those jungles that me and Eck vanished in, or where do you get an item like that?
Zoltan seemed to have picked up some sort of fungus while he was out.
He goes, oh. Well, okay then, well, I'm a walking shadow, so who am I to judge, right? Name's Biggs. Little it, and, yeah.
Paisano.
He goes, nice to meet you. He isn't sure.
Paisana.
He feels like, he's just like...
Paisano.
Yeah, it's just like
Paisana.
It. So,
Paisane.
where's a thing like you come from, huh?
Is it technically called the Underworld?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know why, but I for some reason feel like I'm gonna like mistake it for like a different name every time. But okay, yeah, Underworld.
He goes, oh, never heard of it, but okay.
He just kind of shakes his head.
He goes, all right, well, I'm gonna get some rest now, because it's been a long time since I've had a shadow I could actually take a break in, and so yeah, we'll catch you guys later. And with that, you see something that you never saw with Eck. Like whenever Biggs would go into the shadow, it would just be like boom, and suddenly he's the shadow, right? Instead, this time you watch as these tendrils come off of his body and grab the ground where Elsa's shadow should be and form the shadow before sucking him into it. And you just hear Biggs, you hear Biggs kind of mumble, well, that's new.
What the fuck? That sounds disgusting. Android looks like visibly repulsed in a sense watching that happen. He's like, what the fuck?
Biggs isn't quite used to it yet, so he smacks his head on the light and the ground instead of going into the shadow.
Yeah. He's like, what?
Bonk.
He's like, oh shit, I missed the hole.
He's like, don't worry about me, and he just he doesn't even bother to get up, he just rolls into it, just like he's rolling out of bed, only he's rolling into bed, just boom, boom. And it reforms Elsa's shadow, but now you can visibly see those tendrils just kind of, just wafting off of the, like I said, it's not like a mist that's you know what I mean? It's like the shadow itself just seems to have slight tendrils coming off of it.
Go on.
And Android, you see that. Like, You of
Yeah.
all you of all people like take notice of it more so maybe than everybody else. You're just like,
It's fucking hiding in her shadow. Android checks his shadow again. Still looking visibly repulsed by the like scene of Biggs returning to the shadow, you know? It's like, oh fuck. It like makes Android's stomach turn a little bit, you know?
while all this is going on too, you guys just kind of hear Yucca kind of faintly mumble, magic words. Uquill, go ahead and roll me a listen. Listen.
Listen, Linda, listen.
Listen, Linda, listen. All right, so as you're chilling, you're watching all this go on. Everybody seems really preoccupied, and you suddenly hear like something shift in the cave behind you, at your guys' back. Like you're sitting down, you're chilling, just kind of being a sourpuss, like you said, and then all of a sudden you just kind of hear it, just kind of like a shifting of feet, just like something just moving behind you, just ever so slightly, and it catches your attention. And you kind of look over your shoulder, but it's dark down in that tunnel, you know? But you bet dollars to donuts that there's something moving pretty close, you know? Almost like just where the light wants to stop and then darkness takes over. You're pretty sure that whatever it is, it's right there at that cusp. It hasn't broken the light yet, but it's right there, you know? What do you choose to do?
Suck a dick and dive.
I turn around, I start pissing fire.
Where do we aim?
Anywhere. You're allowed to play as much D&D as you like. You guys want to start peeing on each other? That'd be weird, but you're allowed to play as much D&D as you like.
I was gonna say, you
let's
can't
do it.
stop us.
Watch.
Watch me. Watch me stop.
And that's the end of tonight's session.
Suddenly, Agaragus, you find that you don't have a PP to pee with.
Did you just assume?
I don't know what you are.
We assumed that the mushroom had a mushroom.
I may not know either, but
Nobody knows. I just got myself killed.
Nobody knows. But yeah, what does Uquill do? For the sake of my curiosity. Hello?
Look at motherfucker.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. Need the info.
Needy.
I told you a second ago. I was like, give me a second. I'm looking.
Oh, I didn't even hear you.
Oh, impatient ass.
I
Oh,
mean,
impatient ass. Impatient motherfucker.
maybe.
Hello.
Andale.
Stop fighting!
Why are you guys fighting so much? Oh yeah, Unit or Elsa, you can now find your you can now find X handout in your handouts.
Word.
So it's like pitch black behind me.
Yeah, for the most part, like you're sitting in the lighted area, but yeah, behind you, yeah. I'd say it's probably like 10 feet out in front of you. The light goes about 10 feet out in front of you and then, dies off into the darkness there. Yeah, and it's pitch black down there. Once the light quits traveling, it just gets dark.
Oh, by the way, Elsa dove off of whatever the bird's name is, can't remember. For the barge storm. Did she end up with that or what?
Oh yeah, she's got it. Yeah, she's got it.
She's gonna like tie it up in her hair like it's a fashion item now.
Oh, what a bitch. It's gonna take a minute for Android to notice that too.
Yeah,
Like,
she's
as
gonna wait
they're-
till he notices and be like, "What the fuck?
Hold on a fucking second. What the fuck is that?
It's like Elsa's a halfling without being a halfling.
What are those?"
Yeah, you dropped this. I meant to. Here, yeah. You should really take care of that stuff.
They hold on to your things.
That's funny. That's funny. She's just got it tied up into her hair, along with 2 daggers, and nobody even notices. She's just chilling. Yeah. I like that. That makes me laugh.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because we never said if she ended up with it or what. So.
Yeah, I thought I said that. Like she grabbed it, like she caught it, and then somersaulted off the wall, and then went into the bag of holding to try and brace her fall.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember if she actually kept the hold of it.
Which also should give you another thought as to why, why did she go in there this time and end up where she did instead of going where she normally goes?
She had an android shit.
Ended up in a pile of his stuff. Oh, so you rolling and intimidate?
It's actually that
Nice.
that was something he just like instantly switches over the presence and like this is gonna sound nice. He has his Spanglish, but it's in common and draconic. It's like some words are in common, some words. But he just basically says, if you value your life, show yourself.
Oh, nice. So he just... And then you say that out into the darkness. And you hear what sounds like metal kind of clank. And then, from the darkness, yeah, you hear a language that you don't recognize. It's kind of off, just slightly, sounds like it almost sounds like strange rolling R's with like noises to it when it speaks to you, but it calls out back to you in that language. But they don't move. Whatever it is, it does not move from that spot. But it calls back out to you in a relatively calm voice. But you do hear the sounds of metal shaking, and in fact, that metal shaking distinctly sounds like armor, and it does sound like more than one set. So you get the impression that though the voice that called out to you doesn't sound shook at all, really, that's not what's rattling. That there's possibly several things that you're talking to right now, and you've definitely intimidated several of them. Because you can distinctly hear more than one. but the one voice that spoke out to you doesn't necessarily sound as shook. Yet it doesn't move into the light either to show itself. And it calls out to you. It says, Hiyore? Which, I don't know. That's just the best I could do. Yeah. You don't recognize that as any dialogue you've ever heard before in your life. It's like, Zhao Xin Chao Ma. Though the way it words that.
Yeah. Means it.
Yeah. That sounded like a question.
It means hello, how are you in Chinese.
No, not you. What they said. Ain't nobody worried about what you're saying. Just kidding.
I'm just being a dick.
No.
Hello from the end of the tunnel. Hello from the other side.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It was an obvious setup.
Yeah, see, this is real D&D, folks. For you listeners at home, even though it sounds like there's a lot of dead air, it's not. What he's doing is he's looking through things to see if he actually has something that can decipher or determine what exactly he's dealing with right now. Because in 3.5, there is a lot of book reading. It's not as streamlined per se, so there's quite a bit of like, oh shoot, well, crap. And at these levels, these levels, you got quite a bit you can look through real quick. So you just kind of have to be like, oh, what do I?
Far more that you even have available to you, at a quick glance. Like whereas in some editions you can, at a quick glance, it's just, yeah. I don't know how else to say it other than that. You just have far more available to you that you have to be like, wait, what the fuck? And because even if you have a quick reference for what something can do, you have to be like, well, what the fuck does that do? Because it may apply to another rule or reference another rule or whatever.
Yeah, it's like you're looking at it, you see it in the appendix, but now you actually have to go and look up its description, because it's like, even what they told me in the appendix, there's got to be more to that than just this.
Precisely.
You're like,
So, I think Quill's gonna just like fucking, yeah, he's just gonna kind of like rattle off the languages he knows, kind of still with that same, I guess the word for it would be reverence, in his tone of voice.
Yeah.
And it's like basically, hey, cheesefucker, Saturday. That's what's about to happen here. And then if he doesn't like what he hears in response, he's going to ready his language and rain upon you.
When you get to Draconic, right, you start rattling off the languages and then you get to Draconic and you hear all the armor kind of jump again, just kind of, like nervously, and you hear the voice, it doesn't sound so much like it's talking to you now as much as it may be talking to the others. Says, Kojidina! Ikagawa! And then it turns back again and it says, Shishonima wa! And he steps forward into the light just a little bit. And what you see, honestly, you see this, well, for a lack of a better word, you see this furry little creature. Well, he's not little, that's the thing, he's like humanoid. And he's almost as tall as you, actually, if not as muscular. He's as tall as you, but he's not as wide. But he does look like he is, even through the fur, because the fur isn't so furry that it, just creates this unimaginable coat on him. It's short hair, if you will. And through it, you can make out its physique very well. Like this thing is built. It's chiseled like wood. And he's got these very large feet and these big old floppy ears. And you realize that you're looking at a humanoid bunny right now that is standing on two legs like a man, like a human, or an elf even, or any of the other races that you're used to, only it's just a rabbit. And he doesn't carry a weapon with him. He's actually just wearing what looks like a baggy, like what looks like silk pants, and his ears are done up almost to look like his two ears are almost like a ponytail. They're tied together by a band and everything, and he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't brandish a weapon, but his fists are taped up as if he uses them for punching frequently. And he steps into the light and he looks at you and he repeats himself again, Shoshi no ma! And he points at you. And it does. It distinctly sounds like he's asking you a question, but you can't be sure because, again, you don't really understand this language.
He's like, Android, make sense of this.
And when you kind of invoke...
Let's see here. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what that was, but it just cut out and then would not restart. Like I had to leave for a second, like, well, what's going on here? And then, like, when I tried to come back into the deal, it just would not let me. Like, great. Yeah. Wonderful. That's why I had to quickly get on my phone real fast and hook up that way, just to let y'all know what the heck I was doing, Alright, so what I was doing was trying to upload this, and I'll try it again. Hopefully it doesn't crap out on me again. Alright. So there's that.
Bunny!
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Bunny Boy. That's right. I forgot what Android... Oh, that's right. Android hummed a tune to himself and casted the tongue spell because he kind of realized what was going on when Euclid was like, Android, you want to make sense of this? He was kind of like, oh, and assessed the situation and was like, oh, he was saying something and you didn't understand? And he hummed a tune to himself and casted the tongue spell and said, I apologize. What was it that you were saying? He kind of steps forward.
When you do that, he looks at you now and kind of puts himself in a stance like he's ready to fight. He like puts one foot back behind the other and kind of puts one hand out while cocking a fist to his hip. It's a real martial stance.
Right.
And he's looking at you.
He gives him the Goku.
Yeah. And he looks at you and he says, how come you speak my language but he doesn't?
Android kind of thinks for a moment, you know, kind of looking him up and down to assess whether or not he will understand, and he says, it's, magic? You know, with a question mark, like, do you understand?
His eyes kind of squint. He goes, like Shujinja?
Android kind of shrugs, and he says, if you say so. I don't really understand that word. What does it... Can you explain?
Shujinja, there are magic users. Them and our shamans.
Android kind of thinks it over, and he says, perhaps similar. He says, mine is with music. A song? He says, I can, influence magic through song.
He goes, I know
if that makes sense.
He goes, I know what music is. I'm not stupid.
He says, I apologize. I'm not trying to accuse you of so. I'm just not from these lands, clearly. He kind of points himself up and down and points him up and down. You know? He says, I don't mean to come across as rude.
He goes, yes, clearly you're not. He goes, you have a half drow with you and a mic in it. He points over at Agaragis. He goes, and then other things. We've been watching you for a while. He says, how come your friend there can speak the language of the dragons?
Android says, I'm not 100% on the details myself. But he is not stupid either. He's not, I mean, he may, you know, he may not be well spoken, but he's not stupid. He just kind of nods, you know.
Does the Dragoon send for you? Outsiders?
Android kind of cocks his head and he says, Dragoon. I'm unfamiliar with the term, but he says, we are sent by outsiders, but I'm unfamiliar with any Dragoon. And he kind of like points to his map where it says Dragoon. He says, is this what you mean?
He says, yes, the Dragoon Shogunate. He goes, yes, they sent for an outsider this time to be their chosen? For the Jingsu?
Jingsun.
Jingsu. Says yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he realizes that you're confused. And he's kind of dropping his guard too, because he's getting more and more confused as the conversation continues. You're not here for the Jingsu, are you?
Perhaps not. He says, depends on what that means exactly.
It's the honored
He
Jingsu.
says, my magic is inadequate, I guess.
Says, it's the honored Jingsu. He goes, I don't really know what to make of this. Maybe the... He goes, you're really not from here, are you?
Android shakes his head. He says, if I'm honest with you, we're from Siren.
Now he looks confused. He goes, I don't know what that is.
He kind of actually looks back at his other Uquil, or at Uquil specifically, and then the other companions, and he says, well, I am from Siren. It's a land beyond borders.
Says, how come you got denizens of the underworld with you?
He says, he kind of shrugs, and he points to the half-drow, and he says, we picked up this one, and he brought the fungus with him. And he says, to divulge too many details might take too much time, but as for the half-drow, we have a little bit of an arrangement, and he split ways from us for a time, and when he returned to us, he had this one with him, and he kind of motions to Agaricus. He says, but they're both denizens of the underworld, as I understand, so I didn't find it too strange that he should have picked it up along the way. He says, however, some of the details might have been strange. He kind of looks back and raises an eyebrow at at Zoltan, knowing full well that Zoltan can't necessarily understand the context of the situation.
Says, and the girl? You're not slavers, are you?
He says, no. He kind of chuckles for a second. He says, I used to call her my dog, and that sounds strange, but as you get to know her, you'll come to understand. It's more of a joke than I'm trying to be demeaning. He says, as time has surpassed, I've come to think of her more as a friend, or strangely even enough, like family. He kind of looks at her, in a weird sense, because she just rejoined them, and he's like, it's like this look, like, I actually missed Elsa.
Yeah. He hears you call her a dog.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. He hears you call her a dog, and he raises his eyebrows a little bit, kind of amazed, and you hear him just kind of mumble under his breath. He's like, I wonder what the dog G would think of that. He says, well, he goes, if you mean no harm, then you will peacefully come with us.
Android nods and he says, we mean you no harm. He says, we're just strangers in this land, and so long as you don't try to hurt us, we won't try to hurt you.
Says, well, you can talk to the hare, and he'll let us know whether or not you're dangerous or not.
Android nods. He says, very well. I'll respect your wishes.
Says, you've come at a very strange time. You've come during the year of the Jingzun, the honored Jingzun. Says, be forewarned, you will meet all that these lands have to offer. I don't know what your business here is. You can tell it to the hare, and he'll decide how best you should proceed, if at all.
Okay. He says, is there anything that you can tell me about the Jingsu?
Jingzhu. Yes, Jingzhu. It is the honored Jingzhu. He thinks about it and he goes, what would you call it? It's a competition. It's a
Android kind of thinks, and he says, like a tournament?
He goes, I do not know this word tournament, but it comes around once every 30 years, and at that time all the denizens of the different shogunates and tribes come together to earn the respect. He says, come, Great Hair will tell you about it.
Android's eyes kind of narrow. And for a second, he kind of looks back over at you, Quill, and he says in regular common, you know, he says, Mortal Kombat. And
This motherfucker.
he looks back at the rabbit person. He says, okay, we'll follow you. We'll speak to the hare, as you call him. He says,
I understood everything you said just now. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway.
I don't give a fuck if you do. Then why weren't you speaking common in the first place, you fuck? Android's kind of like, well, I'll introduce us formally to you. My name is Android Frizen. This is you, Quill. This is Elsa Blackwell. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And Zoltan Heisenberg and Agaricus. He kind of points at the mushroom offhandedly. This is,
Yucca goes, I can't help but notice you didn't introduce me. I mean, it's fine.
Android kind of slowly looks back at Yucca, and he, like, jabs a finger towards Yucca, and he says, and that is Yucca. He says he's a little upset with me right now, but that's okay. He has every right to be.
As you're introducing them to, you watch as he bows to each one of them, not fully like lowering his eyes. He keeps his eyes on everybody, but he bows, like, putting his arms at each side and slowly tilting his body, just whoop, whoop, like L-shaping his body, but leaving his head upright so he can look at everyone, so as not to lower his eyes.
Just kind of like low-key presenting his majesty. Mm-hmm. That's funny.
Says, I am Nobuzaki. I am Nobugzaki.
Nobuzaki?
Nobugzaki.
Okay.
Says, I am of the Bunzai.
Bunzai!
Android just kind of runs a hand through his hair, kind of stroking it back, and he's like, and then runs his hand down his face, and he says, okay, I'll try to remember that.
Follow me. I will take you through a shortcut through these mountain caves. We will end up in the valley soon.
So, right. Android motions to everybody like, alright, let's go. And as they kind of start walking, Android divulges the details of the conversation to you, Quill, just kind of explaining the situation.
Nobugzaki like whistles into the darkness, and you see like 6 torches light up with more of these bunny men, but they're actually clad in armor, and they're all brandishing bows and arrows. And because you can still understand their language, they're just like, you're bringing these people to the Great Hare? Nobugzaki says, it is the honorable thing to do. They have not been hostile yet. The Great Hare will determine things for them. They say, fine, but we're not responsible for this. And he says, if they get hostile before we get there, you can put arrows in them. And he motions for everybody to move out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they do. They take you guys through a shortcut through these caves where it feels like you really, you could have used this earlier. You could have used this yesterday. Because...
So, as we're going, I'd like to point out that anytime I don't know the duration in which we're going to be walking, but anytime Android gets the semblance that his tongues is going to wear off, he recasts the spell so that he can continue understanding, because he kind of has the memory of getting fucked over.
yeah, with the trolls.
You know?
Yeah.
And missing the most important section of the information and being like, oh fuck, no.
Yeah.
What did I miss? And they're just kind of like, good luck to you, and they walk off.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So he is very diligent in trying to recast his tongues when he needs to, because he fears that should happen again.
So you only have to recast it once, but yeah. Like at one point in time, like Nobuzaki's trying to explain something to you, and as he's explaining it, he's just like Shisho, Shibato, and you're just like, oh no, and you hum that little ditty once more, and your ears kind of glow, and you feel your tongue kind of get warm for a second, and then he's just like, just a little further down the way, and we will be in Bunzai Valley. He goes, take care not to venture too far from the village, for the forest holds dangerous things. If you truly are not from these lands, then you don't know what to look for. We have legendary creatures here, dangerous, but that is not for me to speak of on these matters. Again, the Great Hare will answer any questions that you may have. And as he goes to walk, he like turns on you real quick and points a finger in all your directions, and he goes, but should you try to hurt the Great Hare, you will have me to deal with, and you will find that I am no slouch when it comes to combat.
Android nods and he says, I respect that, and I assure you we mean no harm, so long as you do not threaten us.
Just very well. And he begins marching with you guys again. You guys eventually come out of a cave entrance that is hidden away, that they have, I don't want to say they have it very well, hidden, but for all intents and purposes, if you weren't looking for it, you may not notice it. It's all very natural. They just use tree branches and whatnot to just kind of cover it up and make it look like it's just from a distance it would just look like trees with their branches outstretched covering a section of this little piece of mountain here, and you wouldn't notice it, but the closer you get, the more discernible it becomes, and that's just the best that they can do. That's what they got at their disposal, so that's what they use. And you guys walk up to a carriage, and you notice that the carriage, instead of being pulled by ox or a cow or a horse, even like you're used to, it is a giant rabbit. It is hooked to this giant rabbit, and it's like it's what you expect from a bunny. It is white, it's albino, it's got the red eyes, it's all furry, and it just looks huge and cuddly, like you could take a nap. Like, you would want to lay this thing on its side and just lay on it like a pillow and just let it just engulf you within it, It's that kind of fluffy little white bunny, but it's not little at all. It's actually extremely large, big enough to pull this carriage, and there's several of them being pulled in this fashion. And Nobugzaki motions for you guys to get into the back of the carriage. He says, we'll be there in no time. He says, if you have never ridden in a carriage like this before, I suggest you hold on.
Before they hop in, Android kind of looks at the bunny pulling the carriage, and then looks at Nobugzaki, and then looks at the bunny that's pulling the carriage, and then looks at Nobugzaki, and he says, Excuse me if I sound ignorant or even arrogant, but is there not a fine line that's being crossed by doing this? And he kind of motions to him and then motions to the rat or to the bunny, you know?
Says, what do you mean?
He says, well, you know, and he kind of narrows his eyes and he says, again, excuse me if I'm speaking out of pocket, but are you not do you not share a similarity or a kinship, I suppose?
It says, are you asking me if I'm forcing one of my own to pull this carriage for us?
He kind of like, you know, and he says, well, I mean, I know it's not exactly one of your own.
As you're saying this, he just kind of whistles in the rabbit's direction. He says, Chi-Chi, am I forcing you to pull this carriage? She looks and says, no, I don't think so. He says, well, there you have it. You should have just asked her if I was crossing a line. Now, if you don't mind. And he says,
"Stop being a bitch!"
Yeah.
He says, very well, very well.
He just
Again, I don't mean
motions.
to come across as rude.
He walks up to the big bunny and he says, foreigners. And then and then he gets up into the driver's seat and he says, onward, Chi-Chi. She says, righto. And like I said, when I meant hold on, I meant hold on, because you guys notice that these wheels are really just kind of for are for more like shock support than anything, because she just begins
They're slicks.
yeah, you guys are just kind of like, oh my god, as she takes off. Yeah, this is like, other than Solar, this is probably one of the fastest travels you have ever had in your entire life. I mean, these rabbits are swift as they carry you. I mean, you guys are just kind of like, whoa, whoa, you know, think of like
It's like the rude sandstorm.
yeah, think of like a toboggan, you know, like a toboggan ride, like a sled ride, right? Only like every time you hit the ground, instead of having the sled, the ski feet, you got the wheels, because what the wheels do is they propel you. Every time they hit, they give one revulsion forward to kind of push on Chi-Chi and push her forward. That in essence, it acts as kind of like a shock absorber and pushes her forward so she gets more momentum on her next jump. There's a couple of times where like you guys are coming up to like a hill and you think you're going to be going uphill, and she just completely takes the whole hill. Just boom! And if this was modern day, which this won't be invented ever in the world of Loxos, but if it had, and it was modern day, you would swear that everything would pause and you just hear some voice say, well, them Duke boys got themselves in a heap of trouble again, you know, as you hit the ground and just keep on going. Till eventually you come to this village and Chi-Chi starts slowing down to a trot. And the wheels actually start just taking over and rolling you guys forward as you enter this village. And it's just full of all these Bunzai. Women, children, men. Some are farmers. Some are over there like practicing. You notice there's some dressed up like these archers, you know, dressed up in the armor, shooting off. Others are dressed up in armor, but less so. And they're practicing what looks like a form of stealth maneuvering. Some are just decked out in armor all together, and they look like they're just downright warriors. They look like they're the warrior caste. But the one thing that they all share in common is if they're not practicing their individual fighting techniques, they're all over at training dummies, just punching them, and you see that the greatest group of them is being led by somebody who you swear looks like Nobuzaki. He looks almost
Like the snake?
yeah, like the one that's with you guys. He looks almost exactly like him, only he just looks a little bit more stout. Like he's just a little bit wider. He's almost as wide as Quill, while Nobuzaki is thinner and more cut. This guy's
thunder and fucking lean as opposed to big and swole.
Yeah, this dude's a little bit more swole, and he's just teaching them. He's like, and you, because you can understand their language, he's just like, again, and they're, again, again, you know, practicing these punching techniques. And,
Android kind of motions over, and he says, your brother?
Nobuzaki goes, yes. How did you know?
He says, I didn't. That's why I asked. But you share a resemblance.
He goes, oh, because we all look alike? No, I'm just kidding.
He says, no. That's why I knew he was your brother.
Yeah. He goes, he looks over at him kind of confused, and then looks at you, and looks back at him and goes, I don't see that. Just keeps on, you know, guiding you into
Android chuckles. You know, he's just like, ha, good one.
After a few minutes, too, you guys hear Yucca just come running up from behind you all, just like, wait for me! Oh my god! He's like, what? He goes, what do they feed these things? And as
Corn.
he gets into the actual village, he stops to breathe, and instantly, like, archers who have no idea what's going on, all just draw their bows and arrows. They're just like, oh, what is that thing? And, you know, a bit of a commotion starts happening. Nobuzaki looks over at his shoulder and he goes, oh, oops. He's like, Chi-Chi, stop. It's like, how do I word this? They're about to, execute your friend. That is your friend, right? And he points in the direction of Yucca.
Android nods. Says, yes, friend.
He says, yeah, we're about to kill him.
Please don't.
He goes, well, I should have thought about this before we came into this village, but, we've never seen anything like him before. And as such, we don't know if he's friend or foe. Meanwhile, Yucca's over there. You even shoot one arrow in my direction, and I swear I'll have the goat eat all of you. The goat will eat all of you.
And Android kind of steps out, and he kind of puts up his hands, and he says, please hear my words. You know, speaking out to all of them,
song.
hoping that, you know, the very fact that they can understand him will shock them enough into, you know, withdrawing from attacking at the very moment.
Yeah, they all turn and just point their bows and arrows in your direction. They're just like...
He just raises both hands into the air, you know, so that they can see. He says, we mean you no harm. We're a stranger to your lands, and I apologize for the intrusion. He says, your representative, Nobuzaki, is taking us to the Great Hare. You know, he kind of thinks for a moment about the phrasing. He says, yes, I believe that's it. The Great Hare. We mean you no harm at this very moment. Please allow us passage.
While Android's explaining all this, Quill, Agaragis, Zoltan, and Elsa, you guys are still sitting in the carriage. And Quill, you feel just like a nudge, like an elbow in your ribs. And you just hear this like, old man, like what sounds like an old man, just like, "That's no way to treat visitors, now is it?" And when you turn to look and see who's talking to you, you see this little old rabbit man, like the others, a little Bunzai sitting there. He's this little hunched over little old Bunzai with this long gray, well, not extremely long, but he's got like a long gray beard and bushy mustache, and he wears these bifocals, and his ears are all tied up in a band as well, and he's just wearing this like furry little vest, and he just looks like a kindly little old rabbit, you know. He's got like a little cane, like a makeshift stick in his hand that he's using as a cane.
And his name is Iro.
Yeah. Says, "That's no way to treat visitors, now is it?"
His ears are tied. That's so cute.
But yeah, he says that to you, Quill. Well, he actually says it in general to just everybody, but he nudges you in the ribs when he says it. Did I cut out again?
No, I got what you said.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure if he knows what I'm saying.
What did you say again?
He says, "That's no way to treat visitors, now is it?"
Yeah, you can understand him, or?
Yeah, Quill catches everything he just said.
Says it in
Okay.
common, I presume.
Perhaps.
Oh. I mean, I just assume since he's addressing the group, you know. I mean, I know Android can't hear him. I just assume as a player.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yuko's just scratching his head like, yeah?
He,
Right? It's like, what the fuck?
he like turns and looks at you like he you know, slowly tilts his head up. Like, it's kind of the same motion an owl makes, you know, when they're gonna spin their whole head around, but they're not turning it in like a complete 360 degree. They're doing like a 360, like a steering wheel, you know, because he's got like a little hunch on him, and so he kind of looks up at you, kind of at the corner of his eye, and he goes, "Somebody should really do something about that, shouldn't they? Before they accidentally kill our distinguished guests from another land."
Yeah?
You could about to do something dirty.
Yeah, it wouldn't be, says advised?
So let me ask you, are you the kind of person who's going to instantly start bloodshed in such a relatively peaceful place, or you the kind who comes in peace and likes to see what happens first? Kind-hearted by nature, but rough around the edges. No, that wouldn't get him.
He said rough around the edges, but trying to be kind-hearted.
Yeah, kind-hearted by nature, but rough around the edges.
No. Listen, here.
Listen, Linda. Quill is rough around the edges, but tries to be kind-hearted.
Well, don't tell me, tell him.
That's what I'm saying.
Whoa, gutturals.
He says, "Oh."
He's spoken Draconic.
Yeah, he just kind of taps his stick down, his cane down on the ground, and looks at the rest of the party, who understands everything he's saying as well. Like, it's not just you, Quill. Agaragus, Elsa, and Zoltan all understand this conversation as well. And he says, "And what about the rest of your friends here? Are they normally brash, or can you all be trusted? I mean, certainly you wouldn't come into a village of humble bunnies and slaughter us all, would you?" And he looks at all of you.
can't speak for the others, but I know the bard's pretty.
As well then.
Uses that word kind of like, you know. Yeah. But you.
Says, "Whoa," and he stretches for a minute and goes, then maybe the great hair should put a stop to all this madness and find out why you all are here, huh?
I mean, sounds like a solid idea, don't you?
Says, fair enough then. And with that, he stands up and goes walking and hops off the carriage and just comes hobbling up beside Android, and he says, stop this madness at once, all of you. These are distinguished guests, and they mean us no harm. I know
Android
this.
points down at the bunny and he's like, what he said.
Stop it.
Says, I've done talk to them, and their intentions seem... well, they don't seem to have any intent for us, and that's what's important. Says, come now. There is much to speak about. We must figure out why you are here. We don't get many visitors in these lands, and there's a reason for that. He says, and feed that thing. And Yuka says, I like him. I like him. All the rest of you, I could do without, but him, I like.
Android just kind of chants out, he likes the idea of being fed.
So they begin to, they begin to like lower their bows and like kind of shrug, and Nobuzaki gets off the carriage and he comes walking up and he just looks and says, the honored great hair. And the great hair just looks at Nobuzaki and says, and bows, and Nobuzaki bows, and he says, I will, I found them on my scouting and in the tunnels. They promised they wouldn't attack, so I brought them here to speak with you. If it please you, Master, I would like to continue my studies. The gray hair just motions. So you watch as Nobuzaki goes and gets in line with everybody else who's punching, and he's just like, again, again, again. So those are his studies, in essence.
Android kind of points over at him and he's like, if I may, that's a really good rabbit.
So in any case, the great hair motions for everybody to follow him into his abode, which is basically just a burrow made out of grass and terra, but it's large. You get a sense of familiarity with it, almost like what you've seen in Lorethian, how the ground will just form to make these dwellings, for how it used to do that for the Wolf Lords and the Wolf Brothers and just the inhabitants of Lorethian. But in this case, it's not as well formed. It doesn't look like they have necessarily talked nature into forming these things for them. It looks like they just live in perfect harmony with it and have dug it out for themselves, as it were. And he sits down with each of you, says, all right, let's begin then. Why are you here?
Android kind of thinks for a moment and he says, well, to be honest with you, we're having a sort of complication in our own lands, and we have reason to believe that a part of the solution resides here within yours.
As I see, and there's no need to be cryptic with me. I have no... As long as you remain peaceful, you have nothing to fear within our lands. We are not a tribe of warriors like the Ibixian, for example. But if I could better understand this heart, and he gives you kind of like air quotes, what is the heart of the matter that you seek here in our lands, since you do come from so far off? I am not familiar with your garb, but I am aware of the underworld, and I understand its denizens. And he looks over at Agaragis and Zoltan. He says, but... and I know what a human is. And he looks at you, Quill. He says, but I don't really follow your look.
Android opens his mouth for a moment as if to speak, and then shuts it, you know, and has to think for a moment, and he says, I'm sorry, I will answer your questions, and I will answer them truthfully, but if I may, you have no knowledge of elves?
Says, well, I'm not familiar with the term, but I will say that you look like, and he points at Zoltan, he says, you look similar, like you could be of a similar species as the Drow, for instance. But I am not...
Android looks wounded.
He says, but I'm not familiar. He takes note of it, but he doesn't stop what he's saying. He says, but I'm not familiar with this term, elf.
Android says, well, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. He just kind of looks a little confused. He says, we're a little more prevalent where I come from. However, I am a little out of the ordinary in that I am only half elf, and I am also half human. He kind of gestures to you, Quill. You know, he says, I share a parent of both species because they are compatible with one another in breeding.
Says, I figured the same as much as your drow friend over there.
He kind of nod.
Yeah, he says, he says he doesn't look like... He says, I can tell that he's a drow. He shares similar features, but he's missing a few of them. He's not ebon-skinned with the white hair that they're known for. And he's pleasant.
Android kind of chuckles and he says, yes, I am not totally positive on the details in that regard in his case, but I can assure to you that he is also peaceful, so long as nothing means him any harm. He says, he is also like me in that he is only half drow, but I don't know a whole lot about his heritage in that regard. But what I can tell you about myself is that I suppose you could... He kind of looks around the room and he says, you know how there are variations in the way that your species may manifest itself, and you may have different names for how you categorize different people within your species. He says, Zoltan is a drow, I am a wood elf.
Says, I see. Interesting. We don't have, and he thinks about it and he says, pardon the term, and everybody can understand what he's saying, you know, like, for whatever reason, he's able to talk to all of you consistently without issue. So everybody understands him, but he says, you'll forgive the term, but we don't, in these lands, we don't get a lot of half-breeds. There's not a lot of intermingling, as it were. So you have to forgive my, shall I say, rudeness for inquiring so much about your anomaly.
Android says, I understand. It's, I'm sure Zoltan has experienced this as well, but it's a bit of an anomaly where I come from as well. And in some cases, even frowned upon. However, it still happens more where I come from. I don't know about the case here.
Because I would be interested in learning more about these elves that you speak of. But for now, I still need to know why you're here.
Without divulging too many details, Android just kind of gives him a sort of idea of the situation in Siren, you know, with the elements and how we kind of fumbled the ball a little bit, and how even though we did that, we are still trying to see it through and restore the elements, as it were, you know. He says, I don't wish to be dishonest with you, as I am a stranger in your land and I have no reason to distrust you. He says, but that is the situation as we can recall it.
Oh, the storms. Now, do you let him know roundabouts where you're headed? Because you said you don't divulge much information, or too much information, but do you at least let him know, like, kind of where you're headed, like in the direction, or
is like up into the mountains?
Yeah, over into
I suppose so. He's going to say, you know, in the effect of like, and we were advised to search within the mountains within your land in the west, but we that's the only lead that we have to go on.
So yes, well, says if that's the case, then you're probably dealing with the storms. Because I don't know if you noticed last night, but we had a few of them come down. I don't know what you would call them in your lands, but around here we call them the storms. Large men who ride the clouds and cause much destruction in their wake.
Yeah, you kind of see Android take a breath, and he says, yes, we don't have those in our lands. That was a surprise to us, and we I don't know how to put it polite in your tongue, but we were very surprised, to say the least, and we sought shelter within the moment.
I imagine you were scared crapless. Because if you've never experienced something like that, then yeah. Because there's not much we can do about them, but we did notice that their storm went away sooner than later. So that was good. Because I sure hate having to deal with them myself if they get too close to my village. Because at any rate, if you're looking for this elemental being, the only one I can think of that might have a good idea is Fang Titane.
Fang to Tang? He kind of repeats, trying to understand.
Fang to Tane.
I see.
Tane. Yes. He is, I guess in your language you'd say the Storm Lord?
I see.
Around here we just call him a legendary. We have a few of those, and he keeps his dwelling in roundabouts in the area you're headed, so I imagine who knows, maybe he's who you need to talk to.
Android kind of groans a little bit. He says, so you're telling me we're going to have to deal with those same storm beings that we saw last night?
Says, Fang isn't quite like the others, and in fact, he might attack you just as quickly as talk to you, depending on what kind of mood he's in. But I wouldn't say his progeny are the ones nearly as much, or his brothers, or whatever they are. Legend says that they spawned from him, but I mean, without asking Fang himself, how do I know? As it is, no. Not so much those. Not so much the storms. No. You won't have to deal with those. You may have to deal with the Mukade, though. And
The Mukade.
the Mukade, yes. And
Mukade.
and possibly their master. The Mukade themselves are not intellectual beasts, so... But Omukade, they're legendary. He... well... not to insult you, but if you're not feeling quite up to the task, you might just avoid him altogether.
Can you elaborate?
I don't know if you have any of these in your country, but think of like an armored serpent with billions of legs. And very large and very hungry. Especially Omukade. I think he draws his ability from the afterlife, as it were. I don't know what you all call it in your country, but in my country, here we call it the spiral. The dark spiral. A place full of the demons. We seem to think that
Android's eyes glaze over.
Says I think legend has it that he's got a tie to such a place, and it's what gives him strength. Some say that when you don't see him for a couple of days, it's because he's there in the spiral, resting. But the Mukade, they don't go there. They're not nearly as large as he is. They're only about the size of, and he points to one of the rabbits, like Chi-Chi, the big rabbits. They're only about that size. Longer, but about that big. It was much, much more manageable than Omukade.
Mukade. He kind of like... You can kind of see the gears turning in his head. He says, and is this a problem for you and your people?
He says, oh no, not usually. Umukade don't usually come to the Sangun Mountains. He usually just... And if you're lucky, he won't be there either. In the Dragoon Spine Mountains at all. He may be making his rounds through the barrier. The barrier cliffs, as we call them. Though they are a mountain range, we just call them the barrier cliffs. I don't know. I think we just like the way it sounds. It's what separates us from the Great Desert. Keeps them from conquering any more of our lands. So,
Yeah.
if anything, Umukade may just be roaming through the barrier cliffs right now. He may not even be in the Dragoon's spine. So, that may be fortunate.
Andrake kind of nods and he says, well, should we cross paths and we feel as though we can handle it, we will take care of him. But should we, in our fortunates, bypass him, then we will bypass him. He kind of shrugs.
Says, oh, that would be... Yeah. Well, I mean, if you could kill one such as Umukade, then you are legendary beings indeed. And I bow to you, and he kind of gives you a bow. He says...
Andrake kind of watches this display and he says, oh, well, I don't mean to come off with any arrogance.
He says, oh, no, not at all. I just... Until you see him, I don't know if you'd really know what you can deal with. Maybe you can. Who knows? Maybe you have things much worse in your lands. It all depends. I mean, this thing's like only the size of a chicken. Spoiler alert, but...
That's okay.
Yeah. It's like Monty Python, the rabbit. It like
Exactly.
takes off dude's head. He's like, Jesus Christ! And they all go
Exactly.
back.
Doesn't matter.
Says now, since you're headed to the Dragoon's spine, you've come in a fortunate time. We are 2 days out from making the journey ourselves, so to the Dragoon Shogunate lands. So that you're fortunate there. We were about to make the trip ourselves.
He says, for your competition?
Yes, he goes, I believe the land, and he thinks about it and he says, I don't really know what it translates into your language, but it's Langzi Guru is the land of the Dragoon. And, yeah, we're headed there for the honored Jingzu. He goes,
the Jingzu.
The Jingzu.
Yeah, competition. He says, He's kind of like turning this over in his head. He says, are there any similar words that you could use to describe it?
He thinks about it and he says, competition.
Yeah, just competition.
The honored competition, yes.
The one who led us here wasn't familiar with the term, but could you call it a tournament?
Well, and he sits and he thinks about it for a minute. He goes, the honor of Jingzu. And he looks and he says, huh? And he kind of roots through something and he pulls out this like old looking parchment and he kind of dusts it off and he goes, here's the concordance right here. And he shows it to you. He says, go ahead.
Okay, so Android takes it and kind of, reads it over.
It might as well be French.
Nice.
Even though you can understand him, you
like,
cannot read his language whatsoever.
Android's like, nice. Is Jingzun kind of a title?
He says the honor of Jingzun.
He says you called it the honor of Jingzun.
Well, that's what it's called. The honor of Jingzun. That's the competition. And he thinks about it and he realizes you probably can't understand a thing that you're looking at there. And he says, and he just kind of reaches over slowly and just kind of snatches it back up out of your hand, like,
damn it.
And it's more like out of irritation for himself, like, like,
yeah, son of a bitch.
Says, what this is an agreement by there was once an age, if I understand it correctly. They call me the Great Hair, but I'm not that great. There was once an age called the Age of Mini War, and we all know that. And in this time, this continent, these lands were the lands of Peng Shun were settled, and there was much bloodshed and much war, and the shogunates and the tribes and the mercenaries were created then. And though much has changed, the one thing that remains the same is the honor of Jingzhou. It's held once every 30 years, and in that 30 years time, everybody picks a chosen one to train. And should he be chosen by the Dragoon, should he... and he gets to thinking about it, he's like, what's the... It's like, I don't really know. And he's trying to think of like the words to say. He says, it's the San He Hu. The, what is that? That's... mind, body, and spirit. Mind, body, and soul. The San He Hu. It's a competition, you know. Our chosen compete in the San He Hu, and whoever's the final four compete in the honor of Jingzhou, and they become the honored, and they get to ride the honored dragons, and they compete on these honored dragons in a Jingzhou, right? And he's trying to think of like the word for it. He goes, you know, when you're running around and you're trying to get to a spot before the others to win.
Android kinda listens to the way he describes that, and he scratches his head and he says, "A race?"
He thinks about it and he goes, "That's a word. I don't know what it means, but it's a running competition, only on the backs of the honored dragon." And they...
He says, "Okay. So it's essentially a testament to speed and endurance. Is that correct?"
Says the honored Jingzhou is, yes. It's...
Who is the fastest?
It's more of a... at that point, once it's the honored Jingzhou, it's more of a competition between the Dragoon, or the Honorable Dragon. Between them more than it is the honored. The honored, when they take on the San Hisu, that is more of a competition between us.
Drake kind of takes both of his hands and wipes them down his face and looks at you, Quill, and he says, "I'm gonna have to see this." We're gonna have to watch this go down. I must see this. I must understand. I need to know what Jingsu is.
What do you think, you Quill? I don't know if his mic is acting up or what.
Sure, what's the worst thing that can happen?
There he goes. There he goes.
Because I'm not saying we have to participate. I just want to see. And he kind of looks back to the...
Sure. Again, what's the worst that could happen?
Android kind of looks back to the hair and he's like, do you mind if we watch?
Well, okay, so here's the interesting thing, right? Like, to everybody else's understanding, and that's mainly, like, I don't necessarily know if Garrigus or Zoltan would necessarily, but Elsa has a rudimentary knowledge of this, and you, Quill, and Android definitely have a knowledge of this. To your guys' understanding, the dragons all died out.
Right.
And the fact that this hair is talking about dragons and a race that takes place on their backs, you know, like, yeah.
Yeah, that's that plays in part to Android's interest. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, what is going on in this fucking continent? Like, there's a weird sort of whimsy behind his interest in this, and he's like, feels compelled to see this.
He says, well, yeah, everybody here in these lands go to watch it. He goes, it's our peace treaty. The first leaders signed it. The Dragoon, they agreed to it. They said they would host the honored Jingzhu every 30 years. And it's the one time that we have peace in these lands. Relatively, that is. No murder may happen during the honored Jingzhu. It's a 3-day festival. The Sanhihu takes place the first day. And then on the 3rd day of the festival, we have the honored Jingzhu. So, during those 3 days, no murder will take place here. And that is without question. Anybody caught shedding blood in those 3 days is to be executed, regardless of name, rank, or family. Nobody breaks the treaty, and heaven forbid anybody shed the blood of a dragoon on that day. Or if they do, that will be the last Jingzhu. And the Dragoon Shogunate will declare war on whoever they think is responsible, even if it's multiple parties.
There's a weird sort of wonder in Android's eyes as he's kind of explaining this, and he says, okay.
He says, in fact, you must come. If you're headed to the Dragoon Spine, you need to go, because you must speak with at least the Dragoon. If you never speak with the dragons, that's one thing, but if you never speak with the dragon below, that's one thing, but you need to at least speak with the Dragoon, for it's their lands.
Okay. I'll respect your culture.
Says, yes, we are almost at a time of peace, and I am just glad I got to live through a few of them.
Android kind of nods solemnly, and thinks about their own situation.
Looks and he says, so, we will be leaving soon, actually. It's fortuitous that you caught me. So I'm actually preparing myself to go. You may escort me as my honored guests. And I will present you to the Dragoon as soon as it is possible. I can't promise that you will actually talk to the dragon below, but you will at least speak with the Dragoon. Their mayor, or their shogun. Well, probably their mayor. I doubt it. I doubt we can just go straight to the city, Yongshichun, but we can at least stop at the pagoda first and speak with their mayor. And he'll know what to do from there. While we go, I will explain to you, should you ask, at any point in time, I will explain some of their culture to you. As I myself, living so close to their lands, I've developed a understanding of the way they work. Though, where they come from, I couldn't say. Nobody does. I suppose only the dragon below know that. And, other than the race, as you call it, I've never even seen them. That's the only time I've ever seen them out, so the rest of the time it's either been the Dragoon or the Dragoon-born, so...
Android kind of scratches his chin and he says, well, as an interpreter of sorts, I'll accept as much information as you're willing to divulge so that it may help myself and my company at the very least blend in. He says, I know we're going to stick out as it is. Even you, Quill, you know, who may be human, still, if for no other reason than the way he is clad, will stick out. So, any details will help for me.
Whoa. And he kind of gets up and starts preparing, you know, like, he starts, like, packing stuff, and as he's doing so, he says, well, there's a couple of things you should know. There's, even though the land, the shogunate itself is called the Dragoon Below Shogunate, they're not actually, the dragons themselves aren't Dragoon. Like I said, they're dragon, but, who knows why they go by the Dragoon Below. There's two kinds of class there, two kinds of people there. You have the Dragoon, which are Dragoon because they're born with wings, and then you have the Dragoon-born, who are born without wings, and that's really the only difference between them, other than the Dragoons seem to be just a little bit more stronger and mystically inclined than their Dragoon-born counterparts. But the Dragoon-born tend to end up being the soldiers, making up the bulk of their army and their commerce. So all their retainers and their governor tend to be Dragoon-born, so Dragoon-born. While they're along with their shogun, but their shaman, their blessed one, she's Dragoon. And the dragon's own personal guards are Dragoon. So that's about how it works with them in their land. They're very formal and etiquette-driven people, so if they approach you a certain way and talk to you a certain way and do a certain kind of mannerism, it's best to copy it to the best of your abilities. And with that, he finishes packing up his pack and buckling it up and putting it on his back.
Android kind of scratches his chin and he says, so present myself with a sort of filigree?
Says, I'm not entirely sure what a filigree is. Filigree? And he kind of says it again to make sure he's saying it right. I'm not sure what filigree means, but etiquette, yes. Do as they do and talk as they talk. If everything is a type of and he's trying to think of the word. He's like, everything is all about presentation.
Like, noble.
And again, he thinks and he goes, how do I say? If you meet, let's say you meet their governor. If you meet their governor, then there's a certain way you have to act when you meet their governor.
I see. He says, yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
A certain
says,
attitude.
I'll observe the others who have a certain sort of conduct and do my best to be polite. He kind of tries to,
When you say the word conduct,
Convey
he
that.
looks at you and like points and he says, yes, conduct. Everything is a type of conduct. It is a type of play. You know, you can't just speak to their governor or their shaman or their shogunate in any way you want. Their shogun, any old way you want. You have to sit a certain way, speak a certain way. If he offers you tea, you must drink this tea. If he is going to drink the tea. If he offers you tea, but he himself is not drank any tea, then you wait until he drinks that tea, for instance.
Android nods. Yes. We have certain sorts of dealings in my own lands. We call them noblemen. He says that's a simple way of putting it.
As I see, and these noblemen, they're rulers?
Typically. Or they wish to be. They are people of import.
Yes, well, we here at the Bunzai, we are not as noble as you put it. We're more comfortable. So,
He nods in understanding. He says we have a more impolite term for that. But I myself come from similar background. So, no judgment.
yes. Well, we are free here, though. We live under no shogunate. Though we may exist in shogunate lands, we are our own tribe, and we will not be conquered, neither by the dragoon or anybody else. This is a time of peace, so I speak with them of reverence. But in those times, beyond those 30 years, everything is fair. All is permitted.
There's another flash of like wonder and whimsy in Android's eyes, and he says, I can remember a time where it was like that in my lands as well.
Says very well. Says let us begin the trek to the Jingzhu. We will not be taking any of the carriages. And when he says carriages, he actually says the word rickshaw. He says we will not be taking any of the rickshaw. It's impolite. It's a journey, a pilgrimage.
Yes.
So it must be done on foot. Everyone shows up. It doesn't matter who you are. Shogun and peasant alike show up on foot. Because the honored Jingsu puts us all on equal standings.
Android says, we'll make it gladly.
This is good. Alright then, well, I don't know if you've rested or not, but we're leaving as soon as I step out and motion for my chosen and my what would you call it? Guards.
Ah, yes.
I don't know what you call them in your country, but we call them samurai here.
He kinda cocks his head at the word samurai and he says, guards will do. He says, protection? You
Yes.
know, like with... Yeah,
Warriors.
okay.
Yes. Our warriors
Then-
we call samurai here in this country, and you might want to try and pick up a little bit of the lingos.
He says, okay, samurai are guards.
Warriors, really.
Warriors. Okay. He says, so some samurai are guards, but samurai just means that they are like Yukhnevich. They fight.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay. Says, I believe I'm starting to understand a little bit here.
Says in this country, the samurai are our fighting caste.
android kind of looks confused about caste, and he says, "Is that a sort of social class, like your standing amongst your peers?"
He thinks about it for a minute. He goes, only when it comes to our warriors. Depending on not everyone from tribe to mercenary to shogunate, they all have samurai, but not everyone shares the type of standings. While we at the Bunzai, we have archers and samurai and ninja. Some may not have ninja, some may not have archers, for instance. But your samurai is, while it is the most honorable because they get to have a good death, they are also the most basic.
So at the mention, as he's explaining this, when he uses the term ninja, android's just kind of like lost for a second, but he's trying to keep up, and he says, "Oh, okay, so you have different classifications of warrior."
Yes,
He
caste.
says, and samurai is one of these castes or significations of warrior.
Yes, precisely.
Okay. He kind of scratches his head and he does another face wipe and he says, sorry, I apologize. I'm trying to understand.
This is not at all. It's, I'm sure I would be just as confused if I was in your homeland. So, it's basic. It's just our basic words for these different things. If you're not a samurai, then you could be a ninja in the Bunzai. But if you're not quiet enough, you might just be an archer because you might be a true shot.
He says, ninja, quiet. And then he starts kind of connecting some dots and he says, like a burglar? Or a
thief?
A rogue?
He says, I don't know what a rogue is, but a thief? Yeah, like a thief. They, at times, have been known to be sent in to actually steal more than kill. But yes, they practice the art of shadow.
Okay. Interesting. He says, okay, well, I don't mean to take too much of your time asking questions. He says, I'll allow you the time to make preparations and we can be on with ourselves. He says, you can tell me more about your lands on the way.
He says, oh, good. Okay, let's head to the Jingzhou. Yeah, we're slightly behind, but that's okay. We weren't expecting visitors today, and yeah, I'm sure it'll all work itself out in the end, anyways. I hope you find what it is you're looking for. I just hope that it doesn't end up being more than what you anticipated.
Am I more than you bargained for yet?
Shut up. And with that, he begins to motion for, the samurai to begin to escort him and everything, and he gathers you all up and he says, we begin the trek. We will, says we should be there in Longzi Gudo in a day's time. Says, he looks at your feet and he says, You don't have the, he looks at his feet and he says, a day and a half's time. Yes, I think so. Yes, a day and a half's time.
Android kind of like follows his gaze to his own feet and then his feet, and he's like, oh, this is gonna suck.
Yeah, and even tries to say something, and like he switches from being able to talk to you and tries to say something in his own language, but because you still have tongues activated, you realize that you can still understand him, but he doesn't realize that. And he says, "We will have to slow down our pace for our round-footed friends. They have round feet and are slow. It is not their fault, and I expect no attitude for them about the matter." And then he just looks at you and he says, "Don't worry."
Android kind of
Gives you
has
a
this
wink.
look on his face, he's just like, aw. Fuck.
Yeah, he just kind of looks at you and kind of smiles and gives you a wink and kind of nudges you with his elbow, and he goes, "Don't worry, we'll be all right. I told the men that you are our honored guests and that we should be understanding of
And that we
you."
have round feet.
Does Android say that to him?
Yes.
We calls you the round feet boy.
He just
He
stops
says
and he looks at you and he says, "Well,"
He says, it's okay. He says, I'm not insulted exactly. I just, well, I don't mean to slow you down.
he says, "No, it's not that. I wasn't going to use the term because it is a vulgar term that some of us use for other cultures. Say the Abyxian, for instance, the goat folk. They have hoofed feet, and they call them round feet, but they can climb mountains like there's no tomorrow. So, I mean, everything works.
Android kind of cringes, at the thought of him having a cloven foot, and he says, he doesn't say anything. He's just like, oh, fuck, you don't realize what you just said to me, and he just like shoves it down.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, no, it's okay. We're just, I get it.
He says,
We're,
we have humans and human-like people in our lands. He goes, I'm because we don't have elves in our countries. We in our lands. I'm going to. Unfortunately, you're probably going to be classified more as a human than anything amongst our people, just because we don't know. But we do have humans in these lands, so that's just a term used for humans because they have round feet and they're slower than others.
Android kind of shrugs and he says, well, some of the only things that may separate me from a human is my sharp ears, he says. And though I may be slow, a keener eye may be it still.
He says, quite. And he kind of looks impressed by that. He's like, you do, too. Your ears are quite pointy. And he kind of grabs his own and kind of wiggles it. And he goes, maybe we're brothers. Yeah.
So he kind of like chuckles to himself and he says, I may have to grow a bit more hair to match you, sir.
Says, yes, well, don't give up. And with that, he just kind of wiggles his finger for everybody to begin the march. And, yep, it's almost 12, and I think that's where we're going to stop it tonight.
Whack.
Yeah. Yep, we're just going to stop it here. Next week, though, you guys will get to experience the honor of Jingzhou. I promise you that. And there will be more in store. And you guys are going into the land of the dragons, apparently. So,
AGTX.
yeah. The dragons.
AGTX.
The dragons.
Goddamn motherfuckers off the dodgeball, like part of that team. Playing there with the bad ice cream.
Well, I tell you this, it's an interesting idea because, you know, as far as you guys were ever told, even in your history books, like your separate history books, dragons don't exist. So, what are you walking towards here?
Precisely. And I don't know if I made it clear enough as a player, but Android has taken a particular interest to what's going on here.
Oh, yes,
You know?
yes, you did. Yes, you did. You were like, no, we're going. We're going to this.
It's some shit, and I was like, yeah. Bitch, I do it alone!
Yuko's like, I don't understand this motherfucker. Android, will you please step in? And Android, after taking a moment to assess the situation, was like, oh no, yes, we must.
Well, when he was talking, everybody could understand him at that point. Like the great hair is understandable. Yeah.
I meant in the very first place when we were leading our way up there. Android was like, hold on, some of the things that you are telling me right now are very interesting. Please take me to your rabbit leader.
Yeah, what is this place where we have humanoid rabbit people? Like, what is this? What is this land?
After he regains sensibility over himself, he's like, oh, this is an animal standing before me. You know, what is going on here? I'm interested in the very first place, and then once he starts hearing all of this shit about their culture, he's like, no, I must see this competition. I gotta know how this goes down.
I don't want to bypass any of this, y'all. I actually want to show up to this festival and party down with these people.
Exactly. If nothing else, I know that I'm going to be able to pick up some notes from their cultural sense of music. You know,
and it's an interesting time too, because it's the one time where nobody's actually allowed to kill each other. You know, he did point that out.
Yeah.
You cannot kill one another. Now, that's what that is. You cannot kill one another. No death is allowed during this time. This is the 3 days of peace that comes once every 30 years. So,
it's paramount.
yeah. He made that perfectly clear that should anybody die, whoever did it is killed. You know, you die. And especially if it's one of the Dragoon. If it's one of the Dragoon, the whole Jingzhou is done. So.
Interesting.
Yeah. And everybody from all the lands comes to this place to do this thing. So, you're going to see a lot more before this is done.
Excellent.
I've got quite a bit in store for y'all, so I know this session was kind of slow, and so there wasn't a lot going on, but you know, next session I think it should pick up a little bit, you know. So
I mean, I had a good time.
Yeah, it was kind of just like a I you know, I always enjoy playing D, so like, you know, for me, but it was kind of like an exposition dump. You know what I mean? Like,
well, fair enough.
Just a massive exposition dump. But
I mean, I asked a lot of questions, so.
And to be fair, I mean, you guys haven't been here. To be fair, you guys haven't been here before, so it's. you know, there's a lot that you don't know, and yeah, it's important to know it. Some of it, anyways, and then some of it, I'd just rather you guys find out on your own and be like, oh, what the? What is this? What is going on in this place? So, yeah. But with that, let me do my outro here, since I almost forgot to do it because I am extremely unprofessional. Alright, everybody, thank you for listening and watching this session. What do you say, guys? Any shout-outs? No? Okay.
Your mom was calling.
Yeah. But no, seriously, though. Thank you, everybody, for joining us at this session. We really appreciate it, and I just really appreciate everybody, my players. I appreciate the viewers and the listeners we get. I just, you know, I try to put this thing together, and sometimes, like tonight, my equipment just acts up, and it's not a perfect show, but I really appreciate the patience on everybody's part, and thank you all so much. You guys are a blessing to me, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Y'all come back now, you hear?